And welcome back to the Global Virtual Open Day of the Global BBA. For our first interview, I'm very pleased to welcome Corinne Peifert. Hi.
Hi.
And you are the Director of Studies of the Global BBA. And we are with Marcela, a student of the Global BBA. My first question is for you, Corinne. Can you describe what the Global BBA is?
Sure. So first of all, welcome to all. I'm very pleased to welcome you today for this live session. So a few words about Global BBA. So BBA stands for Bachelor in Business Administration. So basically, it's an undergraduate program that you do after your high school. And the point in this program is that you're going to study business administration as a generalist knowledge about business. It's 4 years. So this is a very important point to take into account. And if I can add, 3 key things about this program is that basically it's really rooted in academic excellence. This is very important because ESSEC is an institution with very high reputation in terms of academics. It is also a program that is rooted in international experience. And then the last feature of this program is really it's learning by doing. And this is a very interesting feature that we'll probably talk about a little bit later.
And what is the scholar background required from the students to apply?
So because it's an undergraduate program, basically you need to have finished your secondary education, your high school. You need to have that degree that sanctions your your high school studies. And we don't have specific requirements in terms of majors or whatever.
And what are the requirements in terms of level to apply? Do you want to have only good students, for instance, in math, or is it like a very open and diverse people in the program?
Well, we want both, really. So basically, of course, we are going to recruit students that have a very good academic standing. That's a minimum requirement. We do not require specifically, such or such grade in such or such subject, but we are careful that typically in math, because that's your question, that you still have the minimum requirement to study in the program. So I can't give you like a number because, of course, everybody comes from different systems, but we will check, in your file that you have enough knowledge and capacity to study in the program. The program is generalist. It's not a math program or a statistics program, but these subjects obviously are part of the curriculum. So you need to be able to follow these topics and then study finance, etc. afterwards.
Marcela, can you introduce yourself in a few words? Tell us where you're from and what you did before joining the Global BBA.
Of course. So hello, everyone. My name is Marcela. I am Italian-Brazilian, and I came here on an IB diploma, where I studied various subjects, but none of them directly business related, and I still made it here. And I studied my whole life in Brazil, and I was very eager to come to France.
And why did you choose Global BBA? What was your interest in this program?
I would say the first thing that caught my eye would be the international experience that the Global BBA promotes. I think with them encouraging you to focus on 3 languages already on your first 2 years, it's an amazing opportunity. And then not to mention your endless exchange possibilities for the 3rd and the 4th year and how you can create your experience.
What is the profile of the students in terms of geography, for instance, and in terms of background?
Well, in terms of geography, actually, that's a very interesting feature in the program because it's very diverse. So in the BBA, we have 2 main ways to enter the program, the French traditional way and the international admissions, which I suppose is the one you'll be interested in. So, of course, there's still a lot of French students in the program, but there are also a lot of international students and coming from all kinds of areas. So it's, we have many people from South America. There's almost every country represented, from Asia, from Africa, from Europe, obviously. So it is a very diverse crowd.
And what would be your advice for the international students watching us today and wanting to join the ESSEC Business School on this track, maybe to learn more about the program before applying, for instance?
Well, obviously, that's like a given. It's not just for you to have the perfect answers when you do the interview, but it's just first to make sure that this program is suitable for you. So it's really important that you check out the program. So you have the website for this, where you can get some very general information, but also you can get in touch with the recruitment team and the student ambassadors who will be here to answer your more personal questions and make sure that you have a good fit with the program.
Marcela, can you describe a little bit the 2 years you already had in this program? How was it like?
It was a great experience. So I had a very normal first year. I didn't have the COVID scary aspect of it. And it was amazing. So I had the full experience living in student residences, attending classes on campus Monday through Friday. And then on top of that, I was also able to attend the local events in the school in terms of the more association events and then in terms of the parties organized by students. And then on top of that, I also got to have a sports experience. I joined the volleyball team and my first year was perfect. It was everything you expect out of a university experience. And the second year, we were already online and it was as good as it can be, having online classes on Zoom. I moved to Paris in my second year, and as soon as the campus opened for only a few days, I was already here.
And how is the life now that we still have COVID, but we have less restriction? You came back to the campus. You now have the class in physical.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure the classes are much smaller. I remember in my first year we had a few classes with 120 students maybe, and then now I think we're limited to 50 per class, which is still a shame, but it feels so good to be able to see your friends again. And then now we also received, I'm in the third year, so we received our exchange students from other corners of the world. So it's so good to have new faces and I found few other Brazilians, and it's a great experience.
That's maybe something important to say to our international viewers. In some countries, they still don't have the universities open. They're still doing the classes with Zoom, etc. In France and at ESSEC, it's back to kind of normal.
Absolutely. We're very glad that we could open the campus fully this semester. So all students are back on campus. This being said, we also have, the possibility for some international students that are, for some reason are not able to travel to France. We do open up the Zoom sessions for them so they can still continue or start the program because we know the situation is not the same in all countries in the world in terms of health crisis.
If you're joining us, hi, you're watching the virtual day of the Global BBA here at ESSEC Business School. We're very pleased to welcome you. You can ask directly all the questions you have. We are discovering the big picture of this program. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about the different tracks that are available for the Global BBA students. What can we study concretely?
Okay, so in terms of tracks, so tracks can cover different things. So let me start first things first. So first of all, you can choose your campus. So the BBA is actually offered here in Paris at Cergy, but it's also offered in Singapore and it's offered in Morocco, in Rabat. So you can choose which campus you want to start from. In Singapore, courses are in English. In Morocco, courses are in French. And in Cergy, you have a choice between French and English. So for international admission students who do not speak French, and that's completely okay, you don't need to speak French to enter the program, you can study either in Paris or in Singapore. So that's the first kind of tracks that we have. The course content is the same. So regardless of the language, you will be having the same knowledge at the end of the compulsory courses time. Then in the program, you have other tracks that you can choose from, which are basically defined by the kind of international experience that you want to have. So we have some tracks where you go for 1 semester exchange program, some other tracks where you go for 1 year exchange program or double degree program or cohort program. So we have a lot of variation, and depending on what you choose, you will have a different sequence for your studies in the program. And then the last kind of track that we have is what we call apprenticeship, which applies to the last 2 years of the program, so year 3 and 4. And this is a special feature which is actually open to all nationalities. So international students are eligible for this kind of track, where you get a contract with a company that pays for your studies for 2 years, and you get a stipend also. Just be careful, because obviously 99% of the cases, the contracts are in France and you need to speak French. But by the time you reach year 3, you can have a very, very good level of French if you make the effort, and that's definitely what we would recommend you to do. So this is definitely something you can consider as well.
And what are the different tracks students can specialize in? What are the different fields?
In terms of topics?
In terms of topics,
okay,
yeah.
sure. So, so the BBA is a generous program. We don't have majors as such, but you will be covering all kinds of subjects. Like, in the first years, you'll all be studying marketing, finance, economics, management, obviously, accounting, management control, leadership courses, languages, as Marcela mentioned before. This is a very important part of the program. And then when you reach year 3 and 4, you can actually pick and choose your electives. And from there, you can customize your program depending on what you plan to do later. Or if you're not sure, you can try, So if you want to have more courses in finance, that's possible. If you want to have more courses in marketing, that's possible as well. And you can actually choose not to choose. You can pick a little bit of everything if that's what you want. So yeah, everything is open, and we have, some examples that I can mention is we have courses on luxury brand management. We have courses on financial markets. We have courses on geopolitics in America or, Asia. So, it's a whole catalog of 150 electives, so there's definitely a lot of choice.
Marcela, what topics are you interested in? Do you already know what you want to do after the BBA, and what are you studying right now?
So I have no idea what I want to do after. In terms of courses, I had amazing experiences in the economics courses, both with Brazilian teachers and French teachers, I might add. And what also changed a lot of my perspective was a marketing course that I had last year. It was under the teacher Jean-Jacques André, and it was an international marketing course that completely changed my perspective in the subject, and it was more directed towards marketing consulting, and it was a world I didn't know existed.
Great.
And maybe you want to specialize in this subject or not?
Maybe. I think I'll definitely take a few more courses when I get to choose my electives, and I'll find out.
Maybe it could be interesting to describe when the students arrive in first year, what do they do concretely? How is it like to be in first year at the Global BBA?
Maybe that's for you, Marcela. Yeah?
Well, in terms of courses, we arrive and you have everything. You have, I think, 2 economics courses. You have your first accounting course, which is a very scary experience, but you'll get through it. You have
it's okay.
You have your 3 language courses. So if you're an international student, you have to take French, and you have different classes in English in terms of communication and how to express yourself in business scenarios. And then you choose your 3rd language. I chose German, and I did it. I got advanced pretty well. It was an interesting experience, and then your courses change every semester. Some stay the same, and then some just refocus around the same subject, a different perspective of marketing or a different side of accounting.
Or maybe I can add also about the actual first days of coming to the BBA program. We have a whole orientation session because we know it might be a little bit awkward for students to just come on campus and start the different courses, like financial accounting they've never heard about, or economics or whatever. So we have, some easing into the program with special seminar that is focused on team building and intercultural awareness, and a series of conferences and presentation to explain the program, so that, step by step, students feel a bit at home on campus, and I trust that it works pretty nicely.
You can keep on asking us all the questions you have about the Global BBA. We're going to answer them at the end of this interview. Maybe we can talk a little bit about the possibility to study abroad. How is it like? You have different campuses. You also have a partner university. How does it work?
Okay, so basically one very important thing you need to keep in mind in the BBA program, you will all go abroad because it's compulsory in the program. So going on exchange program is compulsory. It's a degree requirement. So no need to worry about that. You will go. Okay? Then where you go will be depending on many different criteria, but if you have questions on this, we can answer later. We have 175 partners, if not more, because it just grows almost every week, all around the world, in the best business schools. You can check the list on the website of ESSEC. So it's very qualitative partnerships. And you will go at least for 1 semester, if not 2 semesters, if that's your choice, and you have the academic requirement the level that is required in terms of academics. That is the first part, and it actually happens in year 3 or 4 in the program. Then there is also another possibility to go abroad is through the intercampus mobility. So this is what we call basically taking classes at ESSEC, but on another campus of ours, so in Singapore or in Cergy, or in Morocco if you start in Cergy. But if you are applying for Singapore and starting in Singapore, you can also apply for intercampus mobility in Morocco or in Cergy. So this is, some kind of moving around, and you get a chance to know students from the cohort, but that are based on other campuses. This is optional. It is not guaranteed per se, because we don't have the capacity to move everybody around, but most students who actually apply can do this intercampus mobility. So it's also a great opportunity. And then we'll discuss this later, I guess, with my colleague from Career Services, but students are also encouraged to do international experience through the professional experience and internships.
Did you already have the opportunity to travel, to study abroad, or not now?
Unfortunately, my hopes and dreams of Singapore were taken away by the pandemic. And then for these next semester, so starting in January 2022, I will be in America at the University of Michigan. And I'll be doing a semester exchange, and I'm extremely excited for that opportunity.
Great. And what were the different steps to be selected to this program? Did you have to apply for it, or was it based on the grades you already have?
So when they tell you in the first year, study to make sure you have the good grades so that you can choose your exchange experience based on that. You study to have good grades. And I think I was always aiming high in terms of the exchange opportunities, and the higher you are on your class ranking, the more mobility you have. And I wanted to go to Singapore, and I didn't want to risk not going. So I always made sure I studied a lot to have a chance to pick first, and the same applies to the exchanges. And I think if you study, you can get to go anywhere you want, and it's just about doing that.
That's a really interesting topic to know how the different evaluations are done during the BBA. Is it like a big session of exam? Is it like a different exam during the year? How does it work?
So basically the default format would be typically, like a midterm exam and a final exam in December for the first semester. But it's in fact a bit more varied than that, depending on the subjects. Some subjects are not really, the final exam doesn't really make any sense for some topics. So professors would tend to go more for, group presentations or case studies, that kind of extra work. In any case, there is a lot, group work is a very strong component of student assessment in the program, along with individual assessment, obviously. It's never completely group work. So there is a lot of variety, and students also learn a lot to practice, their presentation skills, etc., through this kind of assignment.
What do you like the most about the fact of being a student here at ESSEC Business School?
I would say the classes. I think from day one, I loved having so much choice and so much idea to see, because I think, as I said before, I have no idea what I want to do with my future. So getting to try a little bit of everything, I think, really opens your eyes, and there's so much that you don't even know exists. And there's a lot of support, and there's a good relationship that you can have with your teachers to learn more about their career paths and to get a little help or get a little advice on how you can move forward.
Sometimes, Corinne, the students, they have hesitation between ESSEC, other schools in France, and other international schools. According to you, what makes ESSEC different than the other school, and the Global BBA different from the other?
That's a tough question, huh? Well, obviously, ESSEC is a very good school in terms of academics, so that's probably sets us apart from a lot of other schools. But there are also a lot of great schools out there, obviously. So it would be more like a matter of fit between your own expectations and what we offer. Typically, in the BBA program, we're looking for students that are strong academically, but who are also, very curious, very creative, who are really interested in this international dimension, the intercultural part of the program, and who are really willing to learn not just in class, but also by practicing, by going on the field, and having this dialogue and making the best of this dialogue between theory and practice. So this is really the kind of students we're looking for. Curious people. And I would say it's in the end, it's as much our choice as your choice, really.
And do you require from the students, as it's an international BBA, to already have some international experiences, to already have traveled around the world, or is it possible to only come from a country that we know and to have this curiosity for the international?
No, it's okay. Obviously, it's great if you had the chance to travel, to be already exposed to some international experience. But not everybody has this chance, and that's completely okay. It's not a requirement in the program. But we will definitely look ask you questions about what you expect from this program and whether you're curious about all this. Because even if you don't travel, you can have this international mindset. So this is something that we'll definitely look at.
Is it possible to do double degrees during the program? Or?
Absolutely. We have 11 double degree programs. So I'm not going to quote them all because I'm not sure I can give you the list by heart like this. But we have very great double degree programs with, for example, Keio University in Japan or Yonsei in Korea. We have a great double degree program with Beida, Guanghua School of Management at Beijing University, which is a 2-year program. It's called Future Leaders Program. It's super selective and it's a great opportunity. We have double degree programs in Germany, in Spain. We have one with FGV EBAP in Rio in Brazil. And Lebanon as well, when I forgot. I probably forgot some more, but yeah.
If you're joining us, hi, and thanks to be there with us. Don't hesitate to ask all of your questions in the chat section. We will answer them in a few minutes. Maybe you can tell us, Marcela, did you have some fears before coming to France about the fact of being a student here, maybe about the culture? What were maybe your fears and how did you face it?
I think the first fear that a lot of people have is how do I deal with the language? And even as someone who was studying French before coming to ESSEC, I was still very scared of just being surrounded by French people, not knowing how to communicate and not knowing if I would be well integrated into the group. And then I also lived my entire life in one place and went to school in the same place. So it would be my first experience out of the nest. So I think after I came, I arrived, and the first week I was very scared. I have to be honest. But I started making friendships that I met on campus, that I met in classes, that I met in the student residences mainly, and that's when you really open and you realize we're all on the same boat. We're all strangers, and we just want to start our lives, So I think as soon as you arrive and you see everyone, that's when you start feeling much more comfortable.
That's something really interesting because when they're students, they're beginning to live and to work and to study in an international network and with international students. So it's a way to get prepared to the life they're going to have after an international life, because there is plenty of nationalities in the Global BBA.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really by design. The program actually opened to international students in 2013. And since it's been growing, so now we have something like 1/3 of the cohort that are international students spread on the different campuses. And the careers that the students will be having after graduation will definitely go around some kind of international dimension. Not everybody goes to work internationally. I mean, it depends the point of comparison and starting point, obviously. But the missions will have some kind of international dimension in any case.
That's a really interesting topic too, the job opportunities that the student can have. We are going to talk more about that with another interview, but maybe you can tell us in few words what kind of jobs, what kind of sectors the student graduated from the Global BBA can work in.
Yeah, so the beauty of a program like the BBA is that it's a generous program and you will be covering all kinds of subjects. So basically, anything that is linked to business, you can project yourself into that. So it could be careers in finance, in marketing, business development, sales. It could be, I don't know, there's so many things. Anything related to business. Sectors can be anything really. It doesn't even have to be for profit. You could work for non-for-profit organizations as well, because there are a lot of skills, project management, that you will need in such organizations, and the BBA will be a great foundation for that as well. So really, depending on what you aim at and what are your values and what you want to do, you can definitely seek that after the program.
You told us, Marcela, that you don't really know what you want to do after, but do you know if you want to keep on studying, because it's one of the options, if you want to begin to work and then maybe studying? How do you feel about that?
So next month, I will be starting my apprenticeship. I actually followed that track for the semester, and I signed a 2-year contract with Procter & Gamble in supply chain.
Okay.
And I think having the work experience during your studies allows you to then graduate and not feel pressured to have an internship on your CV. It actually buys you some time to think about what you want to do and maybe consider a master's and then specialize. And then you have the work experience and you find out if you like that sector. Do I want to continue in that sector? And maybe choose your master's in there so that you specialize even more. So now that I do have this work experience, I'm considering even more doing a master's.
There is a question that the students usually have. It's about the math level. I was talking about that at the beginning of the interview. What are your requirements? Is it possible not to have done a lot of math and to come with maybe some classes adapted, or do you require high level in math? What do you think about that?
So we don't require a high level in math. If you have a high level in math, that's perfectly okay. But you need a minimum, and this is what we're going to check at the admissions level, because obviously you'll be taking finance classes later, so you need to be up to the standard. And so this is something you need to be careful about. Yeah.
If you want to know more about maybe the program or about the opportunities, you can ask the question. You're already beginning to ask some of them. Can you tell us, maybe Marcela, a few words about the life after school, after the classes you have? We're going to have some people from the student union, but how is it like to study and to be in this ESSEC environment?
I think in the first year I felt exactly that experience, and if you're living at a student residence, for example, you finish class with your friends, you walk home together, and then we often would organize dinners in the common rooms and catch up even if we don't have the same courses. And then the student life in terms of parties and events, I feel, is very well organized. I tell my friends at home and at other universities about how everything is well organized here, and they're shocked. And I think that's a great benefit. And if you're coming in right now, I really hope you get that first year experience that I had, where in a COVID-free world. And I think we're very close to that actually right now.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's important for you, that the students feel integrated, and even the international student don't stay within international student, but are really integrated with the other one on the campus.
Yeah, obviously, this is something we're very sensitive to, and that's why we start the program with this team building seminar at the beginning of the year. Of course, we don't control the students' personal lives, and they do whatever they want, and they hang out with whoever they want, but we try to really mix them. And the international students are mixed with the French students in class all the time. So this is already catered to in the program.
And even in the housing, and we will be talking about housing in a few minutes. But for now, we are going to take the question coming from the chat. So if you have questions about the program, and if you want to know more about the Global BBA with a big perspective, it's your moment to ask your questions. We already have a first question about the languages. Are there any other language courses besides French and English, Corinna?
Yeah, of course. Actually, you need to take one more language, because it's compulsory in the program to study 3 languages. So if you are international student, obviously you're not going to study English per se. It's going to be more like communication skills, like Marcela mentioned. You're going to work on your self skills, presentation skills, etc. Then you're going to study French. unless you're a French native, obviously, but otherwise all international students study French. And then you're going to pick another language, and you have a whole range of languages to pick from. So you have German, Spanish, Chinese, Japanese, Arabic, Russian, Portuguese from Brazil. What did I forget?
There's so many.
Yeah, there's a couple more, I think. Okay, you can check the list also, I'm sure, on the website, but that already gives you a pretty good idea.
A global idea.
Yeah.
What languages do you study, Marcela?
So I did 2 years of German, and then, well, now I don't take any classes because I'm on the apprenticeship track, but when I am back, I hope to pick up the German and then continue improving my Italian.
Mm. Oh yeah, Italian, we have Italian.
How are the different language classes teaching? What is taught? What is maybe the methodology? Is it a lot of practical, of oral parts, or is it more written part? How does it work?
I think they very much try to push the language deep into your brain. I think with the German, it was a clear example of that, because I remember asking a few friends, like, oh, can you explain me this concept? And they were like, that is so advanced. Why are you studying this right now? And by the end of the first years, we were writing, I don't know, not mini essays, but I'd say like a fair amount of paragraphs in our exams. And it was very surprising. And we do a lot of conversations in class and a lot of conversations with the teacher. Even online, we carried on with a lot of presentations and group projects to really help boost your level up.
We have a question regarding the IBEA track.
Yeah.
Someone is asking us, could you talk about this track? Is it very selective? What is the IBEA track?
Okay, sure. That's a great question, because actually we need to talk about the cohorts in the program, which we haven't addressed yet. So one of the cohort program is indeed the IBEA track. So IBEA stands for International Business Education Alliance. It's like, I call it a super exchange program. It's basically when you're selected for this track, and it is highly selective, I confirm. So do study well if you get into the program as soon as your first semester, if you want to get in there. So from the middle of the second year, you'll be going to Germany, to Mannheim University, which is the best university in Germany for business and economics. And then you'll spend 1 semester at University of South Carolina in the US, which also has the best bachelor in international business in the US consistently for over 20 years now. And then 1 semester at ESSEC in Singapore, so that's like a guaranteed in-campus mobility. And then 1 semester of FGV BBA in Rio in Brazil. And after that, you do your final 6-month internship. And what's very interesting in this program is that it's a cohort of 40 students from all 4 partners that will be moving together. So it's going to be 40 students together in Mannheim that move together in the US, and then together in Singapore, and together in FGV BBA. This program is really focused on people who want to have international careers, like consulting or working for multinational companies. And it's a great experience to get a lot of international exposure. It is very demanding in terms of academics, but also, culturally speaking, because you're going to be traveling to 4 different countries in 2 years. So you need to be ready for that, but it's an amazing experience. So that's the first cohort program, if I may.
Yeah, you can talk about the other one. I was going to ask you that.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So we have another cohort program, which is the Entrepreneurship and Innovation track with Berkeley Global. So Berkeley Global is a branch of University of Berkeley. And students who opt for this track will be able to spend 1 year of courses at Berkeley Global, and then they have the possibility to do a 12-month internship in the US with the special scheme that is available for them. For now, the regulation in the US we don't control, but right now it's part of the track. So this is also another option. The very specific feature about this track, contrary to all the other exchange programs in the BBA, is that it requires additional tuition fees. So do check this beforehand if you're interested, because that requires a little bit of extra tuition fees. So that's the second one. And then the third one is what we call the Responsible International Leadership track, which is with the University of South Carolina again. And so, as the name says, this track is focused on, responsible leadership from an international perspective. And you can spend 2 semesters, so 1 year, at USC in the US, and then also the possibility to do up to 12-month internship in the US after that.
And to apply to these different cohorts, is there specific things to do when you're students?
Absolutely. So first you need to get into the program. Okay. So these 3 tracks you apply once you are already in the program during your first or beginning of second year. So that's, something to consider. And because you'll be in the program already, selection is based on grades first and foremost. So just like Marcella said before, study well. And there will be also some language requirements in terms of English level. If you're from international admissions, it's not a problem because it's usually more or less the same as for international admissions. IBA will be a little bit more demanding. We require IELTS at 7.0.
We have more questions coming from the chat, and you can keep on asking them. We're all at the very end of this first interview, but keep on asking all your questions. We have a question about the ratio of French and international students.
So, good thing I just made the statistics for the orientation program. So we have around 40% of international students in the first year of the BBA. Yeah.
Another question is, what do you call expérience terrain?
Yeah, that's a good thing. You've done it, Marcella. Maybe you can.
I just finished mine.
Yeah, perfect. Then you can talk about it, right?
Expérience terrain?
So your expérience terrain, or your field experience, is when for 1 month during your vacation, you go on a volunteer experience where you really have the chance to interact with people. So you can't go to an office and work for an NGO. You really have to be in the field working with people. I went to a vaccination center in a small French town called Sanois, and I spent a month there helping on the vaccination effort. So I was directly at the center, and I was preparing vaccination passes and registering people online in the French health security system. And it was an amazing experience. And if you're worried about how to find one, you have full support of the school. You have a teacher that actually connects you to all these NGOs and experiences in France.
So the idea is for you to give to your students the opportunity to discover maybe for the first time the workplace and how it works?
Well, field experience is not exactly about the workplace. It's more about getting exposure to something different, culturally different, economically different, socially different. But then students do have, obviously, the possibility and are required to get exposed to the actual workplace. And that starts as soon as the first year. So in the summer between year 1 and 2, they do already a 3-month internship, which is for most of the students the first time they're actually working. And then there's another opportunity and requirement in year 3 and 4 to do 6-month internship or apprenticeship, just like Marcella did.
There is an interesting question maybe for you, Marcella, is how would you describe the intensity of the workload? Do you have a lot of work to do, or is it something okay to follow? How do you feel about that?
I think you can definitely get a balance between your work life and your student life. I think that's not a concern, even if you are studying a lot to aim high for the exchanges, You're also here with your friends, and I think all the student residences have work rooms where you can all work together, and I think we do have a lot of projects, but in terms of exams, not all classes, but a good majority of them have the midterms and then the final exam. So it's a lot of preparing for those 2 occasions and projects on the way, but there is a good balance, I think.
There is an interesting question about the lockdown, because maybe we talk about that in the admission process, but you can already give the technical or the information to people, because sometimes you ask for the different opportunities that they do, the different maybe sport they can do, activities they do, to explain a little bit more who they are. And during 2 years, it was difficult for a lot of people to have another life than the life at high school and doing high school stuff and other things. Will it be something maybe negative in some application if they don't have anything beside the school?
No, obviously we're very aware that this is a worldwide situation, and that students have been high school students have been very much impacted by that. So of course nobody will be negatively assessed because of that. What we are really looking is the mindset of the applicant. So this is the most important thing. And even if you're stuck in your room, you can still read, you can still be curious. There are plenty of things you can do differently, though we know it's not ideal, but don't worry about that.
We have a question. The website said the Global BBA program is the equivalent of a master's degree, M1 in management, 240 ECTS European credits. Can you explain this in detail, please? Because it's a BBA, so it's a bachelor, but it is the equivalent as a master?
No. Okay, yeah, we need to explain that indeed, because so it's not a master's program, it's a bachelor's program. So let this be very clear. Then the French educational system is a bit complicated for outsiders. Basically in France, when you do a master's, you have 2 years. So this is what we call Master 1 and Master 2. So Master 1 refers to the first year of that master's cycle, and the BBA program, which is 4 years, represents the equivalent of that Master 1 level. But you don't get a master's degree at the end, you get a bachelor's degree, to be very clear about that. And then with this kind of degree, you can apply for master's program, but you just do the second year if you stay in France. If you go overseas, it's not a question, it's very straightforward.
Thanks a lot, Corinne Pfeffer and Marcela, for your time and the answers you gave us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for welcoming us.
And we are going to talk in a few minutes about the admission process with Virginie Gravelaine. She's going to talk about all the different steps and all the different tips to apply to the Global BBA. But just before that, we are going to watch a short corporate video about ESSEC strategy. See you soon. Welcome back to the social networks of the ESSEC Business School for the virtual open day of the Global BBA. And we are now going to explore the admission process and the different steps you have to follow to apply. With you, Virginie Gravelaine, hi.
Hi.
Thanks a lot to be here with us. You are the head of admission for the Global BBA, and just next to you, we are with Sebastian. Hi.
Hi, hello.
You are one of the students of the Global BBA. My first question is for you, Virginie. Can you describe the different steps to apply to the BBA?
Okay, well, I'm going to start first to explain to the candidates that they have to prepare. Preparation is a very important part of the process, so I recommend them to prepare and take the English test, and notify their academic referrers, prepare all the required documents, but also begin drafting and writing their 2 essays, which are very important in the application evaluation. So then they can start their online application by creating an account, login and password. I recommend them to read all the information in relations on the online application. We have the website, but also the FAQ documents called How to Fill Up and Submit My Application. And then they will be asked to choose the campus they want to study, to apply for. So it is important to keep in mind that when they submit, they can't change the campus, so they have to make a choice at the start. And then to complete the online application, the online application consists of separate sections, so the candidate can complete as in on pass, save the application and go back to it when he wants to update or complete his application. So this is very important to complete the online application with care and to give as much as details they can, because it is a very important part of the evaluation. So this is for the online application. So I would say that I recommend them to spend a significant amount of time to prepare the online application.
You were talking about the essays because they have to write essays. What is it about?
They have to write to answer 2 questions. So the first one is the opportunity for them to express their goals and values and their motivations. So it is very important for them to complete with care this part. And the second one is a question about their ESSEC Business School, how did they know ESSEC Business School? So it's also important for them to express their interest. So I would say that is a very vital part in one application, while assessing applications. So it is very important to prepare the 2 essays.
Well, Sebastian, you had to do all these different steps. How did you do, particularly, to write these essays? Did you try maybe to be a kind of original, or did you try to be really sincere? How did you do your essays?
I would like to emphasize in the part of taking a significant amount of time for your application, and I think most of this time should go to the essay itself. For the 2 questions, they're usually, I would call them the wrap-up between everything you've mentioned in your application. So I would definitely encourage students or applicants in this case, to try to mention again everything that they've mentioned in their application, but as arguments for these 2 questions. So you would say, well, my motivations for joining ESSEC, this may be for 5, I don't know, sentences. How can I make that an essay? Well, in my case, for example, I used the previous, my motivations that I mentioned for looking for an international high school. Then I focused why exactly essay, which it has some particularities that I was interested in, and mentioned how my former resume piled up for me to be a student at ESSEC, why I should be a student at ESSEC. And I will use that, those previous experiences to justify why you should be at ESSEC, your motivations. What does ESSEC have that will give you for your career path? And I would tell them to focus on that so they can make a worthy essay. Also focus on the structure. It is not mandatory to have a structure per se, but I think it helps for your completeness, your conciseness, and your coherence. So I made an introduction, body, and conclusion. It is not mandatory, however, I will say it helps, and proofread it. I will advise highly to proofread it. Write your ideas first, write everything, but at the end, giving a good proofread will be very much welcome for the reader of the essay.
The essay is not in the culture of all the countries. Some of them are not used to write essays to apply to school, but in some countries like America, it's something really important, and they do a lot about that, trying to be original on the form, on the stuff you're talking to. What would be your advice with the essay? Can we stay natural, as you said, like having really something structured, or is it interesting to try something different if we want, maybe, I don't know, a poem or something like that?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Well, actually, I would say that it must be a full personal statement first, and then the structure can be original, but the main thing to keep in mind is that to catch the attention of the reader and give him the pleasure to read the essay. It's very important to catch the attention, really. The structure doesn't really matter, in fact, but what you mean, what you want to say is very important.
We're now going to talk about the requirements for the international students. Is it possible to only having graduated from high school and to apply and to get to ESSEC, or is it better to have maybe 1 or 2 years in another university?
No, the Global BBA international admissions are open to candidates in their final secondary education, in their final high school diploma, or already graduated, but it's not compulsory to have done 1 or 2 extra years in another school. Is it in their final secondary education? Also international baccalaureate, other than the French one, because if a candidate have both, they will have to choose either concours Sésame or international admissions. We also accept A-levels with a minimum of 3 A-levels subjects and a minimum of 1 quantitative subject. So, well, it's the profile we're looking for.
And in terms of English level, you have requirements?
Yeah, we have. So that's the reason why I started at the beginning to say that it's important to prepare the English test, because we have a minimum score required. So the candidates can find all the requirements on the web page, for instance. But if you are a native speaker, or if you have been studying entirely in English for the last 2 years, you're not. It's not compulsory, but if not, you will have to provide with an English test. And I advise the candidates to start very early, to prepare their English test. We've got a minimum required, so it's also part of the evaluation. And then if the candidate meets all these requirements, then he can apply, start his application.
That's something really interesting. Can you describe what happens? So first, you put all the information on your application form.
Yeah.
Then there is a review from, I think, a committee at ESSEC. And how does it work exactly?
There is an important thing that I want to mention right now is when the candidates start their online application, the first thing to do is to enter the details of their 2 academic referees. It is very important to allow them to complete the online reference letters before the deadline. So the referees will receive an email from an automatic email asking them to complete the online reference form. It is also the responsibility of the candidate to make sure that the referees complete the online reference letter. So it is really the first thing to do before going on with the process of the online application. Yeah.
What kind of referees can we have? Teachers?
I really recommend candidates to choose teachers or staff members that know them well, but I would say that, for instance, relatives are not suitable referees. So it's very important to choose the right person who is going to recommend you, in fact, so that know you well. And they will be asked to evaluate the candidate's abilities, their motivation, how their strengths and weaknesses, for instance. So it's very important to choose someone that knows you well.
Who did you choose as references?
I choose one of the teachers that were the closest to me. I chose, what was the headmaster of my program, the multicultural program, which was also my French teacher.
Okay.
And I also chose another teacher, which definitely I would think was the closest to me during my whole high school year. And he helped me in projects. He knew me personally, and I knew that he would describe me appropriately in the application. So yeah, about submitting it as early as possible, I would advise that, because I made the mistake of leaving that at the last moment, and it was very stressful. It was very stressful, and you don't want to push your teachers to send it as quick as possible. I mean, fortunately, they did it, but I would also recommend that, focusing on doing it as soon as possible, first step.
Yeah.
So once you have completed all the information on the application forms, what happened? Your application forms is going to be read by some staff member here at
Yeah,
ESSEC?
we've got evaluators, but first of all, I would just have to mention one thing, sorry. Incomplete information, if there is a lack of, for instance, if there is no referee letters, the application remains incomplete. So it's important. For the application fee as well, it is important to pay the application fee, otherwise that the application remains incomplete. When you submit, we advise the candidates to double check their application before submitting, because they won't be able to go back to their application after submission. And then the files, the application files, will be checked by the admission office, who will be in contact with the candidates all along the process, the admission process, and we're going to evaluate the application, and then we have a committee to decide which candidates should be shortlisted. If you are shortlisted, then you will be contacted by the admission office to schedule an interview. And the interview is carried out by two staff members, all in English, and lasts around 30 minutes. And after the interview, we've got also an admission committee for the decision.
And what is the organization of the interview? How does it look like?
The interview lasts 30 minutes. It's carried out in English, and the juries, the two members, are going to assess the motivation, the communication skills, goals and values. So it's not a track, it's really a conversation, a conversation with the members, the two members. But it's also important to be yourself, and to be honest, and to to show your interest, but also to speak about your personal, for instance, cultural and activities, hobbies, things like that. So everything counts. In the application, online application, all sections is taken into account in the evaluation, but for the interview, everything counts as well. And your personality. So be yourself, in fact, and be honest.
Can you describe maybe, Sebastian, a little bit how your interview did? Were you, first of all, stressed by this oral exam?
And not exactly. I wouldn't describe it as an interview. It is far away from that in the sense that you would expect the jury to have like your application and have some questions prepared, and you need to prepare for these questions. It's a question that I had also. If I need which questions I need to prepare for. In this case, it's a casual conversation. It will sound strange for me to recommend it. However, I would advise not to go prepared for it. But I mean in a way of not having like a script in your mind, because you're going to see that it's just a casual conversation. They ask you a question, like the first question, and from that, they part for asking more follow-up questions. So if you have a script in your mind, something that you're prepared to say, and then you are struck with that, you're going to basically get a mental block. So I would also advise to, I know it's easier said than done, but be yourself. Just go in already expecting a normal conversation. It's friendly also, they're not strict, they are not attacking your ideas or something. I think it's one of the most casual interviews, if it could be called that I ever had.
But you said don't be prepared. Maybe it's important to know what you're going to say at the first question, which is, can you introduce yourself? Well, I mean, this question you can be prepared to and know what you want to do, because I imagine that in the way you're introducing yourself, you will give some keywords that then
information,
they will,
and that they're going to.
That is true. You should have a way that it's only 30 minutes for you to sell yourself, if you want to put it that way. You have to be very concise and very complete also with your introduction. So that is true, and I would say also have that prepared, yes. However, the rest is just going to be a normal conversation. You're going to have some questions that they're going to be sent to you that you should probably just go around them, take a look, think about it, so you don't get a mental block when you're in the interview. However, memorizing a script is not going to be the best solution for it.
I agree.
It's very comfortable. I mean, it's a very comfortable interview.
The idea is really to discover the candidates and to know more
about himself.
About who they are.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I insist to be honest and to be yourself, but also do not hesitate to speak about your own experiences. Even if you think that is not significant, it can be relevant. And that's the reason why the interview is really made for discovering, as you say, candidates, and to be more a conversation than a list of questions and
And where are then the results published? How can we know that we are admitted at ESSEC? Yeah.
Okay, so we have a committee, and then the decision will be published on the candidate's profile, but also they will be notified by email. Then, if they are admitted, they will have to sit the place in the program by paying the deposit. And then our colleagues from the register will proceed with the enrollment to the ESSEC Business School.
What would be, Sebastian, your global advice for the global part of the admission process? You told us be careful with the essay, don't be too prepared. But what is for you the spirit of the admission process?
The general feeling of the.
Yeah. How did you feel about that? And what would you do maybe differently now that you know how it works?
I would organize myself for the next one. I think, fortunately, that wasn't a big issue, but after sending it, you receive a sheet that basically like a recapitulation or of how you answered or your questions and how you answered them. I noticed some incompleteness that I could have worked on if I just give it a bit more time. This application is managed by rounds. That allows you can either be first round, fourth round, and from the first day of the round to the last day of the round, you're going to have the same probabilities. For example, or that's what I was told, and I can prove that because I applied for the fourth round last day, and I'm here. Not last day, but like 2 days before, and I'm still here. The admission process, I would also advise mention everything. And I mean everything. You did the most trivial thing you consider, I would mention it because you don't know what will catch the evaluator's attention. You don't know if all those trivial things together compile for a bigger thing that will catch the jurors, I think, attention.
Yeah.
That's something interesting to put everything, but also the idea of the calendar. You have different
rounds.
Different rounds to apply.
Actually, we have 4 rounds, and it is the submission that defines the round the candidate applies to. So really, there is no difference between round 4 and round 1. The same criteria are applied throughout the rounds. So just make sure that you are ready to submit, that you prepare carefully your online application. As I said, all parts of the application are independent but have to be filled out very carefully and give as much as details as you can. So pay very much attention on the application. Yeah.
We're now going to take the different questions coming from the chat. The first one is, I thought, and it's in the continuity of what we were just talking about, I thought that there are 4 application rounds. Then are students allowed to apply numerous times even though they didn't get accepted in the previous round?
No, you have, actually you can choose the round you want to apply to, but there is 1 application per academic year. So if you are not admitted, for instance, in round 1, you cannot apply in round 2, okay? So there is only 1 application per year.
So there is a question coming just after that. What is the best time to submit my application in terms of application rounds? Do you have sometimes more chances to get accepted in one of the rounds?
No, there is no, as I said, the same criteria are applied throughout the rounds. So you have to submit when you are ready, in fact. Okay? There is no difference between the rounds.
If we already have the academic recommendation letters, is it possible to put directly into the online application, or do we have to do the thing again?
It's well, actually, it should be a confidential document. So the first thing to do is to enter the details of the referees on the online application, and then they're going to receive a specific form for the reference letter. So the referees should complete or fill out this type of document that they're going to receive.
And what happened after the admission? What are the next steps once you know that you are admitted?
The next step is you have to pay the deposit to secure seat in the program, and then our colleagues from the register will be in touch with you, in contact with you for the enrollment to the ESSEC Business School.
And she's going to talk just after this interview. What would be your advice not to have a bad interview, Sebastian? According to you, what would a bad interview look like?
What a bad interview look like? I would describe it as maybe you trying to be someone else. And I know this may sound cliche, but I mean like going with a preset personality, a preset way of like presenting yourself, I'm sure that they're going to notice they have your application that it directly contradicts who you really are or what you have shown to be. And you also, when the conversation stops being questions and it guides into a casual conversation, the contradictions are just going to be more noticeable. Or you're going to have a block because you are not going to know how to keep on the character that you were trying to build on. I think that happens not in these interviews, but in a lot of other contexts often. And if this reflects into your admission interview, I think that will go as a bad interview.
Because I imagine that teachers, some of the applicants want to be someone else. They maybe invent some of the details they're sending, but that kind of behavior, the people of the jury can see it really quickly. They're used to doing it.
Yeah, because members of the jury are most of the time teachers interacting regularly with the Global BBA students, so they know the students, and they also know our expectations. So that's the reason why I think it's important to be yourself and do not invent things or imagine things or things like that. It's very important they're going to evaluate you, your motivation, but also your personality, your ability to, your maturity, your creativity, your ability to work in team. For instance, so it's important to keep in mind that they're going to evaluate, in fact, that your potential to fit with the Global BBA program.
We have a question regarding the different campuses. When applying, can you please advise if we can submit applications at multiple campuses, for example, Singapore and Cergy?
No, actually, when you start the online application, the candidate will be asked to choose one of the campus. So, as I said, the courses are the same on each campus. So it really depends on the candidate's interest and future plan, for instance. But when you have to choose one campus, and when you submit, you can. There is no switch of campuses.
And why did you choose particularly to come here at the Cergy campus?
Well, one of the things I mentioned in my application, and well, to reflect that, is that I wanted to participate in a program in the university that had its roots in France, because I wanted to become proficient in one of the lingua francas of business, of politics in the world. So my interest was for ESSEC since the beginning, and I also had the dilemma. I was mainly deciding between the Singapore and the Cergy campus. But mainly for that thing, I chose Cergy also because I became more interested as the time went on in the campus itself. So.
What would be your last advice, Virginie, for the future student maybe watching us today?
Okay, well, actually I would say to take time in their preparation. So we've got also all information on our website, but also FAQ documents. So take time to read them before starting the online application. Get ready for your English test and for the essays. But also with your academic refers, and then double check your online application, complete all the sections carefully, because everything, all the elements are taken into account in the assessment. So it's very important to be complete, and then just submit when you are ready. And obviously, if you have questions regarding your application, you can contact us on the online platform by using the contact us form. So do not hesitate if you have questions, if you need advice for your application.
The website is essec.edu. Then you go to the program page, the Global BBA admission tab, and then you have all the information, the Q&A, etc., etc. Thanks a lot, Virginie Gravelaine and Sebastian, for having been with us today.
Thank you.
And thanks to you, we are coming back in a few minutes. So just before that, you are going to discover Thiago. It's an ESSEC Global BBA fourth-year student, and he's going to tell you more about what he did here, and we will be back just after that to talk about what happened after the admission, all the question about finance, visa process, health insurance. We're going to talk about that with Evelyn Nickel. See you in 2 minutes.
Hello, my name is Thiago Toiches. I'm a Brazilian student here at ESSEC. I'm in my 4th year right now. I did all my studies before in Brazil, and at the end I got an IB diploma, which enabled me to get into ESSEC. I have been fascinated with filmmaking since I was young, but I wanted to first do an able go analysis. But even though that, I wanted to do the ESSEC BBA, and this is enabling me to go directly to work after that. I'm not doing a master's, and this is a big plus of this diploma. I wanted to combine my passion for filmmaking and also my passion for business, and I could really tailor it towards my taste. So I did, at the end of first year, a first internship where I really got into filmmaking, but then I went to Singapore where I joined a startup and I could use again my skills that I was learning in class in the real world. Then I came back to Sergi, and then I went again on an exchange to Australia. And there, ESSEC gave me the opportunity to not only get the business classes, but also any of the classes that I wanted in this university. And I joined then a class in the filmmaking section of this university, the University of Queensland. And this was an amazing experience. I was in the other side of the world with people that I had never met before and on my own. And I learned a lot of things during that time. It was really a great adventure, and I got a lot from this experience. Thinking back about my favorite moments from ESSEC, the one that really stands out was the Imagination Week. It was the transition from the first cycle to the second cycle. And what really made me have a good impression from this was all the different speakers that came to us. They were really well known, from topics ranging from architecture to food and even science, and I was really impressed by that. And at the end, we were able to do ourselves a project from one of the very important topics of the future. My team and I decided to talk about AI, and we did a video about it, and it turned out to be really good, and the jury selected our projects as one of the best in this week. So I was really glad to have this award, and at the end of the day, it was just good memories. One of the things that I was really looking forward when entering ESSEC was the student life and all the associations that ESSEC had to offer. ESSEC has over 100 associations, and one of those was ESSEC Live, the photo and video association from ESSEC. And I actually got to be the president of this association, which was an amazing opportunity, because not only did I have to manage the teams in very big environments, which was a great life experience and that has translated into work experience. And also I got contacts from people not only from my program, but also from the other programs at ESSEC. So it was a bridge between all those students that had the same passion, and I really enjoyed these moments. If I could say anything to students that want to join ESSEC or are thinking about that, was first of all, to really go for it, not be afraid of taking this leap and opportunity, even though it can be very scary. And if I think back about everything that I have already achieved, I can see a clear-cut difference between the Thiago from before and the Thiago right now. And I can compare it towards my friends that stayed in Brazil and the ones that actually went forward and got this leap of confidence and challenged themselves. Because when you're home and when you're not challenging yourself and when you're not going out of your comfort zone, you don't understand how many possibilities are out there. And when you go and you meet those people, you go outside and you are going and facing your fears, this is where you're going to be growing. If I had to describe ESSEC in 3 words, it would be challenging, tailored, and unforgettable. It was really such a good experience that I want everyone to be able to have, and I really hope that you do take this leap and go for it.
Welcome back to the virtual open days of the Global BBA. We're now going to talk about finance, visa, and health insurance. And we are going to know how it works here at ESSEC with you, Evelyn Nickel. Hi.
Hello, good afternoon.
You are the registrar of the ESSEC Business School. First of all, can you tell us some words about the registrar office and what you do here?
Yeah, the registrar's office has 4 missions. First, enrollment. This is why my colleagues from admissions just before me introduced me. So we are in charge of enrollment once you've been admitted. We are in charge of immigration, formalities required from non-European students by the French government to enter France and to stay and study in France. Invoicing, because we have to charge tuition fees, and financial aid.
So that's all of these questions that we're going to talk about. And what is interesting is that once you're admitted, you go to the registrar and the registrar office because it will be your next, the next people you are going to talk to.
Exactly. Once students are admitted, first they have to secure the admission offer by paying a deposit, which is going to be credited to their future tuition fees. And then, by doing so, the system at ESSEC generates an ESSEC identifier that starts with a B, 00, and 6 digits. And this is how the registrar's office is going to receive the admitted students who accepted the admission offer.
So you pay the deposits, then you have your little identification to connect and to subscribe to all the different platforms here at ESSEC. And what are the next steps for the students?
Then the students are going to receive an email saying, start your enrollment. And everything is done online through our platform, which I nicknamed Ariane, like the skyrocket, the French skyrocket. So the students have to log on to the platform, verify his identity, and then complete different information so that we can review the student's credentials, and then we are going to validate, and then enrollment is completed. And usually, BBA students, because they're young and dynamic, they complete their enrollment in, let's say, 1 week.
Okay. So they ask all the information about the background. I imagine that they ask all the documents, such as the visa, not the visa.
Not yet the visa. So what they have to prepare, and this is something that they can prepare even though they are not yet admitted, because it's going to be useful somehow. They have to prepare an electronic copy of their ID, passport, an electronic copy of what we call extract of birth certificate, bearing the name of the mother and the name of the father, the student's name, of course, and date of birth and place of birth, because it's required by the French state to identify students. So this is something that they can prepare ahead of time and have it translated into French, because later on it's going to be required by the French authorities.
Okay. And once the enrollment is completed, what are the next steps?
The next step is to prepare for their arrival, but they have, depending on which round of admission they took, they can plan for financing their studies at ESSEC.
Okay, so we can talk about this finance topic. Maybe by a simple question, how much does it cost to study at ESSEC?
So being the registrar, I'm going to tell you the whole package, because the BBA is a 4-year program. So our tariffs are voted every year in October. We are still at the end of September. Therefore, I'm going to base my answer on the 21-22 tariffs. So this year, the 4-year package in euros, it's 57,000 euros, okay? And the first year is the one that costs the most, because you have to pay upfront the contributions, like student associations and so forth. So the first year is the costlier. In euros, it's going to be 16,000. If you go to Singapore, the first year is going to be 26,000 Singaporean dollar. If you go to Rabat, the first year is going to be 150,000 dirham.
Okay, that's the prices, but there are some helps here at ESSEC to help to finance these tuition fees, such as scholarships.
Scholarships, ESSEC awards excellent scholarship upon admission. So it's based on merit, and depending on the academic results, throughout the admission process, there are excellent scholarship. There are also what they call a diversity scholarship. For instance, when students come from very rare countries, countries that we never had before. So we want to encourage this diversity. There is no such thing as need-based scholarship for international students, because there is no way we can review, the cost of living in each different country. Only for the French nationals, we have need-based scholarships.
And it's also possible for the international student to have some financial aids coming directly from the French government.
It depends on which ministry. If you are an international student, for instance, studying, you've done all your curriculum in high school in French. Then the Ministry of Foreign Affairs have different agencies that promote French education throughout the world. And in order to encourage French teaching, you have an agency called AEFE, Agency for French Teaching Abroad, outside France. And students may apply and may obtain a kind of fee waiver up to a certain amount, like 5,000 euros for the year, and it's going to help. Plus a small allowance, each month to help the student live in France. This is the kind of scholarship. If you are international, you can always consult the French consulate website in your home country to see what is offered. And you also have, in some countries, approximately 40 countries in the world, you have the so-called Campus France office that is there to promote French education abroad. And it's a good way to know what is available.
And you also have partnerships with banks to help students to have some loans with advantages?
Yes. We have partnerships with French banks near Cergy. And the only thing is that the French banks offer French nationals loans without any guarantor. But if you are not a French national, you must have a guarantor in France. This is the law. It's not, because of the school, it's the French regulation.
So that's how it works. Maybe we can talk about the living costs to live in Cergy, in Singapore, or in Morocco. Do you have an idea of how much it costs, maybe monthly?
The cost of living in France is approximately 1,000 euros per month. Of course, if you have other kinds of, habits,
That
it can be
more.
much more. But it's approximately 1,000 euros per month. In Singapore, because it's a very expensive country, the cost of living ranges from $1,200 Singaporean dollars up to 2,700 Singaporean dollars.
Okay.
In Rabat, this is what I heard from my students. The offer, for instance, of housing is very small. So it can be the equivalent of 400, for instance, for rent, 400 euros. But if the landlord finds a student who is ready to pay more, it can reach 800 euros, even in Rabat.
Okay, so you may have to negotiate a little bit and not to accept everything because
Yes.
There is this intercultural thing coming into the situation. Maybe we can talk also about the visa process. So if we take the big picture, the students just gave their enrollment. Then we were talking about the way to finance the program, and then you need to have a visa if you're an international student to come to France. How does it work concretely?
So non-European students are required to have a student visa to enter France. And I'm going to talk about France mostly because if you consult the website of ESSEC Asia Pacific, you will find a link to a page called Resources, and they have a guide that explains everything about visa to Singapore. It's very clear. While to come to France, it varies. It varies on the country, and it varies on your age. So, for instance, we have a lot of minor students coming to France. For these students, I insist on that. You need to provide the consulate with a letter which bears the name of your legal guardian, meaning the person who is going to be responsible for you when you are in France, because you are underage. So this letter is going to be signed by the Dean of the Global BBA, Mr. Hugues Lévesque. But for that, we need to have in advance the name of the father, the name of the mother, date of birth, place of birth, and number of passport. We need to have all this information ahead of time so that we can prepare the letter, and then we have it signed by the dean, and then we send it to the student so that the student can join that letter for legal guardian in his visa application.
Without this letter at the very beginning of the visa process, it's impossible to keep on trying to send the information. You need that?
You need that because otherwise the student who is underage is going to be stuck at the consulate. If the student finds out, just 2 weeks before his appointment, it might be too late, while he has 6 months to prepare. The student just has to remember whether or not he's going to be minor, that is underage, under the age of 18, when he or she is going to apply for the visa.
So that's the first step for the underage students. What are the next steps to obtain the visa?
The next step is to, as soon as you know that you are admitted, you can already proceed with the Campus France application. Campus France is located in most of the countries from which our students come from. So you have to find out if before your appointment to the consulate, you have to go through the Campus France procedure, meaning that you have to create an account in Campus France India, for instance. You then upload all the requested documents so that Campus France has time to verify all your documents. And you do that before the peak period, which is May, June, July.
Can you begin the visa procedure without knowing if you're admitted, or do you need to know if you're admitted?
You need, because there is a fast track for the admitted students. You know, when they log on to Campus France, there is the regular track for all applicants to France. Our students must not take that track. They have to take the fast track, the track that says already admitted students with the acceptance letter, okay? And with that, they are going to go quickly through the procedure. By the way, I have to clarify that there are two acceptance letters. One before the payment of the deposit, and a second one after the payment of the deposit. And these two acceptance letters are to be downloaded from the admission portal, not the registrar portal, the admission portal, because this is the acceptance letter. Okay?
So once you have done that, you have created your account on Campus France. You will have to submit all the information, and then you are like in the track, in the rails to have your visa.
And the visa is issued by the consulate. The thing is that even though, let's say, you are admitted in January 22, you go through the Campus France procedure. But then you'll have to wait, because the consulate is not going to issue your visa too early. Let's say that classes are going to start on the 1st of September 22. The consulate is going to issue a visa that is going to be to start maybe around the 20th of August.
Okay.
The visa cannot be valid too early, prior to the beginning of the classes.
And what kind of visas are eligible in France?
There is only one, a student visa.
Okay.
If students come to study, they must have a student visa. They must not have an internship visa. They mustn't have a tourist visa. They must have a student visa. What we call a VLS-TS visa.
And is it possible to do internships or to work, to have like a little job thanks to a student visa?
Yes, definitely so. As long as you have a student visa, you can do your internship at ESSEC, you know, without anything else, and you can have a student job, you know, a part-time job. And following this visa, as soon as they arrive in France, the registrar's office is going to help them convert their visa into a student residence permit. And this procedure is done online. It's both in English and in French. But in case our students, you know, are lost, we help them do that.
Can you tell us more about that? Because you do all the steps to get a visa, you arrive in France, but you have then, once you're in France, to convert your visa into a residence permit.
Yeah,
if you don't do that, you're not in the rules, you're not following the rules.
Yes, because it means that somehow you are not entirely in France.
Okay.
It's the same the same document that is affixed in your passport, and then you do online, you enter the number of your visa, your credentials, everything, and then, because the visa, when you are outside France, is issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. You see? Once you are in France, then you are ruled by the Ministry of Interior. Like in the US, it's Homeland Security, you know? So it's, you transition from one ministry to the other. So the Ministry of Interior is going to look at your file that you entered in the platform and say, all right, we accept this student. So that the following year, when students have to renew their visa residence permit, they're already identified for the 3 coming years.
Okay, so you do it once, you do it a second time, and then for 3 years you don't have to do it again.
Yes,
Okay.
because what we try to have is a multiple year residence permit, because the BBA is a 4-year program.
There is a question because in some countries, when you have a visa and you decide to go outside, maybe to travel to another country, it's difficult to come back. You have to have an official letter from the university. Thanks to a French visa, is it possible to travel in Europe and outside Europe without
Yes.
any kind of
Yes.
new specification?
Yes, this is why it's important to have a valid student residence permit, because then you are considered as a temporary resident, and you can go back and forth as long as it is valid.
Okay, so I imagine that the students have to be very, very careful with the validity of all of these documents.
We send them reminders and everything, but they just have to read our emails.
Let's talk now about another important topic, health and insurance, because sometimes you have little medical issues when you're in France, all time in your life. How does the insurance plan work in France? Can you come with your own insurance plan coming from your own country, or do you have to take an insurance plan from France?
There are 2 things. First of all, I want to insist on the fact that to go to Singapore, having health insurance is mandatory to get the Singaporean visa. To come to France, it is not mandatory, because as soon as you arrive in France, you are considered like a French student. And you benefit from the health system, which is called French Social Security, that was created after the Second World War.
And you don't have to pay for that?
It's free of charge.
Okay.
But because the French Social Security reimburses, let's say, 65-70% of the basic tariffs established by French Social Security, we encourage our students to take out a complementary insurance. So, for instance, we do everything at the same time: conversion of the visa and registration to French Social Security. We do that at the same time, you know, in webinars. And then, at the same time, we explain to them what a complementary insurance is.
Okay, so they can do that. It's not mandatory, but it's
not
really
mandatory.
better for them.
Yes, it's better for them.
Not to have to pay for their health.
Exactly. And this complementary insurance, it can be one in France or one in their home countries, because some BBA students, they have parents who have very solid insurance companies, you know, and then parents have to ask if their own insurance is going to cover their children in France.
We have a question on the chat about the visa process for Singapore and Morocco. They can have all the information on the website of ESSEC.
Not ESSEC. It's the Office of the Registrar website, which is this one, and I guess my colleagues are going to...
It's www.officeoftheregistrar.essec. edu, and then you will have all the information about the visa process for all the other countries.
In the FAQ section.
Okay, you have a little Q&A section that you
Yeah,
can...
Google being our friend, you know, you type visa and you'll find out.
And you will have all the information about that. Another question, really interesting coming from the chat, is when you have medical troubles in Cergy, where do you go? There is plenty, I think, of doctors, plenty of stuff like that.
Yes, part of the fees that are invoiced, students will see in their account statement something called preventative medical services for 35 euros. That includes a student nurse dedicated to students, a doctor, 2 psychologists, whom students can consult anonymously, free of charge, night and day. And then, you know, the nurse recommends, you know, a series of English-speaking doctors in the vicinity of the school, of course. Yes.
So there is a lot of helps that students can have.
But knock on wood, they are not going to be sick.
Yeah, of course, everything is going to be perfect, but it's better to be a little bit vigilant before that. We are going to conclude this live session. What would be your last advice for the future students watching us today?
Plan ahead, and you know, plan ahead, because if you plan everything, you'll have, you know, peaceful studies. Everything is going to be smooth and serene. And anyway, they shouldn't stress, because we are there to help them. You know, so sometimes before they get admitted, they already send us emails to ask for questions. So we are there to help.
Thanks a lot, Evelyn Likel, for all this information, all this really helpful information for the students.
My pleasure.
We are now going to talk about the housing. That's the next step. After you get into the school and you get your visa, you want to live somewhere. And where can you live? In the Cergy, Singapore or Morocco's campus. We are going to talk about that in a few minutes. But before that, we are going to discover more about the Global BBA thanks to a little video. And we are going to discover ESSEC Cergy's 2023 campus project. We will be back just after that. Welcome back to the virtual open day of the Global BBA here at ESSEC Business School. We are now going to talk about the housing facilities at ESSEC with you, Selma Bultez. Hi.
Hello.
And you're with two students, Monica. Hi.
Hi.
And Charlotte.
Hi.
First of all, Selma, can you describe what the ESSEC is, because you work at ESSEC, and how it can help students with their housing?
So the ESSEC is the association of the accommodation or the housing facilities for the ESSEC students. We are here to assist the ESSEC students, or the future is the ESSEC students, to find out or to find an accommodation close to the campus. We are a team handling the technical and the administrative issues and all that, really from the beginning, before they come here, during their stay, and also when they leave.
And you are working in the three campuses. You help students to find accommodation in the three campuses?
Actually, we are only handling here the Cergy campus. We are in contact with other campuses, so if there is any question, of course, or anything, they can email us, and we can, of course, send or give them the contact of the people who are handling the housing in the other campuses.
So we're going to talk first about the Cergy campus. How many student residencies are there at Cergy?
Students, you mean?
Residencies. Yeah.
Actually, we have 4 in total.
Okay.
So each residence is, let's say, different, and also regarding the location, the type of accommodation as well. In total, we have 4. One close to the park, another one in Lilande, the other one close also to Cergy. It's at the port at the port of Cergy, and the other one is at Cergy-le-Haut.
And what are the differences between the residencies? Is it in terms of the people in the residencies? Is it also in terms of the kind of accommodation you can have? How does it work?
So actually, for the park residence, it's a flat sharing system. It's dedicated only for the first year BBA and Pré-Master Grande École. It's a kind of flat sharing, so it's a big flat with let's say 6 or 7 rooms. They have in common the kitchen, the living room, showers, and the bathrooms. The other residences are with the single or double rooms.
Okay. And Monica, where did you live here at Cergy? Which residence?
I lived in the Résidence du Parc, which is the one closest to the school, actually. And that's the one with the flat sharing with like 6 or 7 people.
Okay.
Do you want me to share my experience?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
how was it like?
Yes.
And how was your room?
Yes.
Can you tell us more about that?
So I had, the rooms are all separated. So you have a shared kitchen, a shared living room, and I shared 2 bathrooms with the 5 or 6 other roommates. And then we also had 2 showers. And but I had my own bedroom with my own desk, my own window, so it was like my own sink. So I had my separated, studio in a sense. But I was also able to experience living with French people, international students, and it was a great way for me to integrate into the school. And I am still like really good friends with my roommates from freshman year, even though we are not in the same apartments anymore.
And if you have questions about the housing, the way to find house in the different campuses, you can ask them on the chat section. We're going to answer them at the end of this interview. So we're talking about the different housing and different types of house that you can have here at Cergy. There is the residencies owned by the ESSEC, but there is also plenty of different other accommodation in the private sector.
Yes, here actually Cergy is a student city. There is lots of university schools, and there is also student residences close to the campus or just nearby here. So yes, you can find out regardless of ESSEC, there is also other student residences close to the campus.
We're going to keep on talking about this subject. How much does it cost to live at Cergy, Salma?
In total, the daily life. If we talk about, for example, the rent is between, let's say, 500 and 700. So this is like a kind of price that you can find here for a student. Then after that, living here, it will depend, of course, but let's say between 500 or 600 or 800. So in total, you will be fine with 1,000 euros. It's fine. So including, of course, the accommodation and the rent.
And as an international student, you can have some financial aid coming from the state to pay for the rent.
Yes, of course. There is the housing subsidies with the CAF. So we assist our students to create their own portal, and we assist them also to get this help, this governmental help. So of course, as a student, you are eligible to request for the housing subsidies from CAF.
And is it possible not to live in a student residence when you arrive as a first year?
This is a choice, actually, but sometimes as international, as you know, if the students choose to live in a private one, just they have to think that there is some, most of them, let's say, they are asking for a guarantor. And this is the most important and difficult thing for an international student. With the ESSEC, we are not asking for a guarantor. So it's really easy with us to make a request, a housing request, through the My ESSEC portal. Once the tuition fees are paid, they are able to make a request online, and we assign a room for them. And it's really easy. They have just some booking fees to pay and security deposit as well.
If you're joining us, we're talking about housing at ESSEC. We're focusing first about the Cergy campus, but we're going to talk in a few minutes about the Singapore campus, thanks to you, Charlotte. But let's continue with the Cergy campus. Is it possible to move from an apartment to another during the 4 years of study?
Yes, of course. For example, as I mentioned at the beginning, the park residence is dedicated only for the first year BBA and pre-master. So after that, when they are second year, they will move to the other residences like the Port, Linande, or Cergy-le-Haut. So yes, and also during their stay, there is this possibility to make a changing room request, and following the availability that we have, we can also change person. Sometimes, you know, they choose at the beginning, for example, the Port, then after that they prefer to be in Cergy-le-Haut. So of course we are assisting them regarding that.
And there is a kind of a flexibility for the students, because sometimes they have to go to do an internship in another city for 6 months, so they can say, I'm not going to be there next semester, but I want to come back the semester after that. It's possible for them to switch?
Yes, of course. So with us, we are very flexible regarding the contract. There is only 30 days notice that they have to respect. Everything happens online in the ESSEC portal. So they make requests, everything happen in this portal actually. So we are aware that they have internships to do, and they are living like for 6 months or 4 months, and after that they want to come back. Of course there is this possibility. Only that they have to do, making the request on the portal, then after that, of course, that they have to remove, to empty their apartment. We have also storage service, which is open for people who are coming back with us. They can store their items, and after that they live for example 4 or 6 months. Then before leaving, of course, they make the request for the next year, and they will be the residence that they choose and everything.
Monica, how did you find your accommodation? It was thanks to ESSEC?
Yes, first year I went into ESSEC because I looked up on my ESSEC and I saw the housing opportunities, and so there's like the virtual visits you could do. And I chose to go with ESSEC because it's my first time, an international student from America. I didn't really speak French, and I didn't have a garant like she explained, which is a very difficult thing to get, and you do have to pay extra for it like in years after if you want to get an apartment. So choosing ESSEC was a lot easier. There's security guards, and there's security, and they really do help you get settled. So for first year, that was a perfect choice for me, and it really did help me.
That's interesting what she's talking about, because you not only do you have an apartment and do you have an accommodation, but you also have like a kind of services. What are the different services offered when you are in a residence, Salma?
So actually in the residence, first of all, so will be our assistants, as I mentioned. Before they come here, we assist them with how to make the request and everything. So choosing that, we are assisting them. And once they are here, we assist them with the technical maintenance. For example, it's included in their rent. If there is anything, they just make a request on the portal, the ESSEC portal, and we assist them about that. And of course, we are also here, we are present, because our office is at the park residence for anything they need or they want. Then after that, one of the services, there is a laundry in each residence. We have also some recreation rooms, study rooms, and all that, and a piano room in each residence as well. Also some like pool or things like that. So we have also that. In the Cergy-le-Haut residence, we have a tennis court as well.
Okay, so a lot of different activities that you can do. Monica, you have been living here at Cergy for 3 years now. What do you like the best about the fact of living at Cergy?
Cergy, for me, it's avoiding the RER transportation, number one. If I were to choose to ever live in Paris, first it would cost me at least another 500 more euros. And then also there would be the morning transportation. And considering I have classes at 8:30 or 9 a.m., or very late at night, avoiding that transportation of an hour or two would be the number one thing. But for me at Sergi, it's nice because all the social life, there's a lot of student associations and things like that. And to be able to participate in that, I want to be, close by the school and present.
And it's also, you can see that, but we can see it directly here behind the cameras, but it's also a really green city. You have plenty of green spaces and stuff like that.
Yes, there's the park right next door, which is very, very nice. Sometimes I go out to have lunch there with friends when it's nice out. So yeah, there's the park, there's the mall, there's the port area, which is a little 10, 15-minute walk, and there's nice restaurants down there too.
We can also talk about the life and the housing at Singapore with you, Charlotte. Hi again. Can you explain us a little bit how it was for you to find an accommodation in Singapore? You began your study there for the first year?
Yeah, so I'm from the US, from San Francisco. So I got in through ESSEC, through the IB, sort of the international application process, and I started in Singapore for 2 years, and now I'm in Sergi for a bit, just for a semester before I do my exchange. So it was a bit frightening, I'll have to be honest, when I first knew I was going to Singapore, because I didn't quite know sort of what to do, or I had never stepped foot in Asia, so I was a little bit lost. When you get in, sort of you get invited to all these Facebook groups with people who are going to Singapore specifically. So since it's a smaller campus, there's maybe 100 or less of us, so it's really easy to form group, find friends even from abroad. And then through the ESSEC platform, you sort of get access to this website that tells you sort of what Facebook groups to join, what apps to download, which websites you can look for residencies, things like that. There's no sort of residents that are partnered with the campus like there is in Sergi, but it is very easy to find somewhere to live in. My roommates, actually, I lived my first year with 4 roommates, and my roommates got there a little bit before me in Singapore. They found an agency through connections or through the ESSEC portal, and then with that, she allowed us to visit a bunch of apartments, and we found an apartment within a day. It was really simple, actually.
And how did your apartment look like?
It was amazing. We're 20 minutes away from campus, so we lived in a condo, so that means we had pool facilities, a gym, we had a security guard, there was a huge mall underneath us. We were in a really beautiful residence, and our apartment was actually 4th floor. We had an elevator for bathrooms, for bedrooms. It was really incredible. We had a jacuzzi on our balcony.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
That's maybe different from the accommodation we can have in other campuses. And how did you enjoy your time on the ESSEC Asia Pacific campus? How was it for you?
I think it was really great because I was a little bit worried about coming to Asia, a country I had never stepped foot on. I was unsure of how it was going to work out, how to be integrated and things like that. But the campus is actually really, it's much smaller than Sergi, but it is really homey. You're in small knit groups. We all knew each other by the end of the first month, I think. So we all really look out for each other. There's tons of things to do. Before COVID, I got to travel a little bit, went to Malaysia, Indonesia, so that was amazing. And even within the city itself, there's a ton of things to do. You can go downtown, which is great for student life, I would say, but you can also go to sort of Sentosa. There are a bunch of activities. There's the beach. There's pretty much anything you could want. So I think that was really nice.
That's really a good experience. Let's continue to travel and go now to Morocco. Salma, how does the housing system work there?
Actually, as Charlotte mentioned, so before COVID, we got the chance to meet the person in charge of the accommodation there. So all what we know, because if there is any question about that, you can send us your questions, and we can transfer them to the person in charge. But what we know that they do have accommodation there in the campus. They have 2 buildings, one for girls and the other one for boys, and they have in total I think 60 accommodations, so 30 for girls, 30 for boys, and they do have actually accommodation there. So if there is any question, do not hesitate to send us the questions, and we will transfer them to the person in charge of it.
We are now going to come back to the Cergy campus with a question about the way you can visit the future accommodation, the different accommodation, since some of the students are not in France, are going to come here at the very last minute. Do you
Yes.
propose some system to visit without being physically here?
Yes, when you go to the ESSEC website, so you can find the description of each residence as well as the virtual visit. So you will be able to visit virtually the room, how it is, get the information that you need, and of course, if there is anything, people can call us or email us.
If you have questions about housing here at Cergy or in Morocco or in Singapore, you can keep on asking them on the chat section. We were talking about Singapore. How does it work if there is an issue? Not about Singapore, about Cergy. How does it work if there is an issue in an apartment?
If it's a technical issue, of course, the ESSEC team is here to handle it. As I explained, everything will happen via the ESSEC portal. So the resident make a request. There is a request section for the technical intervention, and there is also the description of it. So of course we are handled that because there is a technician in each residence. So of course will depend to the nature of this issue, but we intervene if it's emergent. Otherwise, he will have like 24 hours to intervene for it.
And is it possible to live in Paris instead of Cergy?
Yeah, as Monica mentioned, if you want to avoid transportation, if you want to avoid being missing some courses, we advise you to live here in ESSEC. Why? Because yes, we are close to Paris, yes, but for a daily life, if you want to attend your courses on time, if you want to stay, if there is any activity or something, it's better to be close to the campus because otherwise you will miss up many things. It's quite far. It will be a little bit costly because, let's say, living in Paris costs a little bit more than here in Cergy. And also you will add the transfer, the RER, or if you choose the car, it will be harder as well because, people are going to work, so there is a traffic as well. So all that counts to live, let's say, a student life in a better quality, to be really close to the campus, with the students, with your friends here, living really the student life.
It's better to be on campus. Monica, can you still enjoy the Parisian life even if you're not physically every day in Paris? But do you get the opportunity to travel a lot to Paris? It's not travel; it's just 20 minutes. So how is it for you?
Yeah, for me, I used to, like freshman year as well, I used to, just take the train like after a class. Some days you have, like on Thursdays, for example, I had like one class in the morning and then nothing in the afternoon. So with friends, we would literally just take the train and have a very long afternoon and evening in Paris. Obviously, the weekends are open to go anywhere you want. I had friends, not like Paris, obviously outings as well, but also, they would just take a train to Germany. It's very cheap. Netherlands, anywhere they wanted to go, they could just take a weekend trip if you wanted to. So, you're free to go to Paris anytime you want. Maybe not live the baguette life every day, but getting a baguette from a boulangerie, but you could still do that here in Cergy as well if you wanted to.
We're now going to take the questions coming from the chat that you can keep on asking till the end of this little session. How many international students does ESSEC host?
I will say like we have 70 till 80% are international, and the rest will be French students. So we have a lot of international students living with the ESSEC.
Are all the international students eligible for APL, the financial aid for the housing, or is there a specific criterion to follow?
Actually, what we know regarding CAF or housing subsidies, as it is a governmental help, they have, of course, their own criteria to choose or to give these housing subsidies. But what we know is as long as you are a student, you are eligible to get these housing subsidies. So we are the link between the student and the CAF to prepare this or to request for it. And if there is anything, we assist them actually, because we know that sometimes there is the language as a barrier. There is also many things, to handle as administrative issues that you have to handle when you have to go to do something in administration, as you know. So we are here to assist them. But what we know is, as long as you are a student, you are eligible to get the housing subsidies.
If we beneficiate from an aid from the French government, will this aid still be applicable if we go to a campus in another country?
Actually not. As mentioned, it's a French governmental help.
So it's only when you're living in France?
Yes.
And do you have to live in specific places which are dedicated or designed to be with the APL, or is it possible with all the different housing that exists?
I guess with all type of residences, but what we know, because actually we are handling only the resident with ESSEC. So as I mentioned, it's a governmental help, and they have their own criteria to choose, but as long as you are living in a residence and you are a student, you can get the housing subsidies.
If I may add, even I live in an apartment now, and even in an apartment, it's a private, building, you can still apply for APL or CAF and get your housing subsidy.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's possible, but it's finished the day you begin to work or the day you leave France. Another question really interesting. Where are we accommodated when we do exchanges, and how do we find housing there? Because you are in charge of the the campus of Cergy, but you have strong links with the other campuses. But do you have also links with some partner universities, or when students are making exchange, it's better for them to contact directly the university to know how it works, the housing there?
Indeed, we are handling only the ESSEC side. We advise them to contact, because each university and each campus has their own, or they have their own system. So we advise them. Of course, I'm more than sure that there is some specific link or specific area, as Charlotte did. She also searched, and she found out that via Facebook, via maybe the link of the university or the website itself. I'm more than sure that they will be able to find out the solution. But for the for Cergy, we are handling only for the ESSEC.
Charlotte and then Monica.
If I can just add, so our exchanges are mostly third or fourth year. So by now you've had sort of like 2 different experiences of what it's like living on your own. So you do know a little bit of like how to work out sort of the administrative process, how to find maybe roommates. And ESSEC does give you access to students that are going there at the same time as you, as well as students that have gone there before. So it's very easy to ask them, like, okay, where did you live?
Tips.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was going to mention. The fact that you can go online on the school website and you're able to access former students that have gone there. And they'll talk about their experience. You can ask for advice, exactly.
Yeah, and since we have so many international students, chances are someone you know has lived where you're going to do your exchange.
Yes.
A bunch of my friends are going to Berkeley, so they ask me what it's like to live in the Bay Area, where they should live. So chances are you will definitely contact someone who knows what it's like to live there.
We have a question about the moment you're moving from one residence to another in the same campus here at Cergy. Do you need to pay administration fees again when you're moving from one campus residence to another?
So actually, with ESSEC, we are talking about contracts. It's a rental contracts. Of course, when you end one, when you finished a contract, you will have to pay for another other fees. But of course, when you make your request the first time, there is a kind of booking fees that you will have to pay. Then after that, when you move for the second year, let's say the second year or the other contract, you will pay other booking fees, but less, of course.
How was the student life in Singapore? You told us that you really enjoyed the city, but was it like a really a campus spirit? You also had activities?
I think it's definitely a bit different than Sergi. Here there's a lot of associations and the campus is so big, there are so many things to do. In Singapore, the campus is much smaller, so it's much more of like a tight-knit community, as in we all do our classes together, everyone knows each other. There are associations and there are student life that you can do on campus, but I think because the campus is much smaller, we would rather sort of go out and enjoy sort of a lot of like the cultural student life. We did a lot of museums. There's a lot of hidden places to explore in Singapore. While it is an island, it seems small. It is, once you get there, it's actually really big. So I think it depends on what you like. If you're more into like art and history, for example, when I first went, I visited the NUS museum. It's the National University of Singapore. They have a museum inside their campus, which is enormous. And so it was really interesting to go and see that. I really enjoyed that.
Salma, you were talking about the fact that in some residences in Cergy, you can share a room, not share a room, but share a flat with other students. Can you choose who you are going to live with, or is it sometimes a choice that is made by the ESSEC?
So actually, there is some criteria that we are, of course, respecting. We put boys together and girls together to feel more comfortable, because it's a big flat. The showers are shared, and as well as the bathroom and the kitchen. We put also the programs together. That means we put the BBA together and the Pré-Master Grande École together, just to get the same, let's say, same group, same things, same. Maybe sometimes it might be the same schedule, but this is the let's say two things that we are respecting about that. After that, we don't. I mean, regarding it's randomly assigned to the rooms. Just the two things that we are respecting: the gender and the program.
But let's say maybe in the second year, you can decide that you want to live with one of your friends.
Yes.
You can ask at ESSEC, well, I would like to have a flat with him or her.
Of course. After that, as I mentioned, we have single rooms in the other residences, and we have also double. If someone is interested to live with another person, we just advise them to make both of them the request and mention the name of each other. In that way, we understand, or we know that each person want to live with the other one in the double room. So of course they can choose to be with someone specifically.
Thanks a lot to the three of you, Salma Bultez, Monica, and Charlotte, for your testimony and all the information you gave us today about housing. We are going to watch a little video with an alumnus from the ESSEC Asia Pacific Singapore campus, who is going to talk about his achievements and the way he was and the way he studied in the Global BBA. And we will be back just after that to talk about the careers and the masters that you can do just after the Global BBA. I see you in 2 minutes.
Growing up, I've always been fascinated about technology and wishes to join a career that is able to merge both technology and business. Today, I am proud to say that I am part of a team that is looking to revolutionize the oil and gas industry through innovation and digitization. Hi, my name is Kevin, and I am a proud alumni who was also part of the pioneering batch of Global BBA students here in the Asia Pacific campus. The BBA program is really unique, and it stood out for me because of its unique ability for me to not only work but also to study in multiple countries. And I think this is the epitome of what I am looking for when challenging myself in different environments, and also to immerse myself in an international community of students and professors alike from different backgrounds and cultures all around the world, all while be in the comfort of my own home. Being a person who really enjoys languages, I picked up Japanese, and I really see myself evolve from someone who watches anime and can only say konnichiwa to somebody who is now able to hold full-on conversations with not just my fellow Japanese peers in school, but also within the Japanese community where I did my humanitarian experience in Japan. A typical day for me in ESSEC would be coming to school, having my morning lessons with my friends as we get lunch. This is actually the most exciting part of the day for me because I get the opportunity to showcase myself as a Singaporean, to introduce my international friends to a wide variety of local cuisines. The ESSEC community has been really supportive towards me. From the librarians to just any staff around ESSEC, they would actually come up to me, speak to me, and actually ask me how I am doing, how my studies are going. And I think that is something which you might not get in other universities because of how close-knitted this community is. One positive change that I see within myself, which I'm also really proud of, is the global mindset which I have since developed, having not just worked but also lived in 3 different countries. So from someone who used to be more close-minded and not willing to try new things, now I am someone who is really open to meeting people from different countries, different environments. For local students who are looking to apply to ESSEC, my advice to you would be, if you are someone who is looking to explore the world with a close group of friends and a small community whom you can trust, if you are someone who is currently shy to take on challenges, but wants to step out of your comfort zone and embrace different challenges, then I would say ESSEC is the right place for you.
Welcome back to the virtual open day of the Global BBA. We're now going to talk about what happened after your graduation. What can you do? You can pursue your studies, or you can begin to work. And we're also going to talk about the opportunity you can have during the Global BBA. To talk about all these subjects, I'm really pleased to welcome you, Claire Tagambata. Hi.
Thank you.
You are head of the career services, and you are with one of the students of the BBA, Ishita. Hi. You are going to talk about the opportunities you had during the BBA. First of all, Claire, can you introduce and tell us in few words what is the career service?
Yes, the career services is the place to find an inspiring job. And students should connect with us to find an inspiring job. We have on the 3 campuses, we have a team. In Singapore, we have 5 people. In Rabat, 1 person. And in here, we have 27 people. We're working in a team, and we have 3 divisions. One division is in charge of oversee and to evaluate the internships, for instance, or the field experience. Another division is in charge of accompanying the students, finding their career path, and also implementing the career path. And the 3rd division is in charge of organizing recruiting events with the students and companies. Last year, for instance, we had more than 300 events organized for the students.
And you organize some workshops. Can you explain what it is?
Yes, we have different type of interactions with the students. We have workshops embedded in the program of the students. And for instance, for the BBA, we have workshops for BBA 1, BBA 2, BBA 3, BBA 4. And we are working step by step, year after year. We also have resources, online resources. The students can access those resources all the time. We also have specific workshops when they want to train themselves on a specific topic. One of them is being able to market yourself, following a LinkedIn workshop, for instance. And we also have one-to-one appointments, one-to-one meetings available to the students. And Aichika was able to get some appointments with the consultant. So we have different type of interactions, workshops, à la carte, workshop à la carte, online resources, and one-to-one meetings.
So Ishita, can you describe a little bit how you had the opportunity to interact with the career services?
So in my first year, I was looking for an internship. So after the first year, you're supposed to do a 3-month internship. So I was looking to do one in France. And so I attended the CV reviews. I also had the career workshop that she just mentioned. And so basically they helped you kind of formulate a CV, because a CV in every country is different. So there are some things that are very specific to France, so how to format it, how to, maybe put an object of what you're looking for on the CV. And then you also learn how to write a cover letter. So those were the kind of workshops that I did in my first year. And then in my second year, I did some meetings with the consultants, whereas to kind of figure out my track at ESSEC, so whether it be an alternance or the normal track at ESSEC. So I think those are very helpful, and I was able to do it with different consultants as well, so that gave me a different perspective each time I met someone. So that really, really helped me, and I was also able to attend some of the recruiting events that was mentioned before. And I think all those events and workshops really helped me in my professional, in the choices that I made in my professional career.
The idea, Claire, is that you give your students some tools to get to be professional and to professionalize themselves.
Yes, we do different things. We start by helping the students to reflect on what they've done or they have already done. It's very important to reflect. All the students have already some experiences, and it's important to know what they like and what they don't like. And then we also help them to reflect on their values and their motivation. It's important, again, to know oneself before trying something. And then we help them to formulate hypotheses. Where to do an internship, to get to know the sector, the type of jobs. And that's how we help them. And then, once they have a project, we help them to market themselves. And that's where we can help with the CV, we can help with the cover letter, LinkedIn profile. But before that, we also have to make sure that the students already they have done the job of reflecting on themselves to make choices.
Yes, definitely.
Let's talk maybe about the internships during the Global BBA. How much internships can they do during the 4 years of the program?
So they have the minimum is 3 period of time of internship. The first one is at the end of the first year, as Ishka mentioned it. It's a 3-month internship. Then there's another one at the end of the second year. This one is called field experience. It's really doing working in a non-profitable organization. That's a different experience. And then after the third year, they have a longer internship. This is a 6-month internship for those who choose to stay to do the internship. Though other students, such as in Isheti, she decided to do an apprenticeship, and that's another way of gaining experiences and exposure in a work environment.
And we're going to talk about your work experiences. First of all, the first internship that you had to complete, where was it? What did you do? In which contexts?
So I was originally looking for an internship in France, but because of COVID, I had to do mine in India. So I did my internship at a venture capital called Z3 Partners. It was an online internship, but I think those 3 months really helped me to get an idea of, what a venture capital is, what they do. I was able to not interact with the team. It was, and I still keep in touch with them until today. So they really are there. Like each experience you do, it builds on your career, and the people there you meet there really are going to help you for the rest of your professional career as well.
And you decided to do an apprenticeship. What is it exactly? You are both a student and you're both a worker or someone working for a company. How does it work?
So an apprenticeship is you normally sign a contract for around 28 months. You work. So you either there are 2 tracks that you can follow. So the first track is a 6-month track. So you do 6 months of working and then 6 months of school. Or then there's a 2-day, 3-day. So you do 3 days of working in a company and you attend 2 days of university.
And which track are you following?
So I'm following the 6-month track.
Okay.
And so right now, from September to December, I'm going to be working full-time at a company.
And which company are you working
So
in?
the company is called PE Cube, and it's a fintech startup for private equity professionals. And I just started last month, so it's been...
it's really fresh, but
yes.
What is your role, your position exactly?
So I'm a business developer,
Okay.
so everything to do with marketing, and business development and talking to clients. I'm in charge of that. So.
And we didn't tell the people watching us today, but in which year are you in the BBA?
So I'm in BBA year 3.
Okay.
Yes.
That's really interesting to see the kind of opportunity you can have only after 3 years of studies, only after 2 years.
2 years. 2 years.
You have been studying for 2 years, and you're in charge of developing a business for a company. Mm-hmm. How can you explain that, Claire Tanon-Battard?
Well, that's first of all, that's the student.
Yeah.
Okay. We can transfer a lot of knowledge and help the student to grow, but it's mainly the student. But then we create, obviously we create the environment, we transfer the right knowledge and the right skills to develop, and it's very impressive. In fact, when the students join ESSEC, they already are very good students, but then we can bring them to the next level. And yes, after 2 years, you can work in a fintech company, launching a new business and working as business developer, working with marketing concepts and trying to sell. So that's very impressive for the students.
If you're joining us, welcome. We are here to talk about the different career opportunities thanks to the Global BBA. We are talking about the internship and the apprenticeship. Is the apprenticeship system offered and open to all the international students?
Yes, and the fact that this apprenticeship it's starting during the third year, because they already have to have 1 year in France before starting an apprenticeship. So there's no problem. It's open to all international students and European and French students.
Do you have some partner companies to help them finding internship or apprenticeship, like companies that regularly propose some jobs, not jobs, but some opportunities during the studies for the Global BBA students?
So basically, ESSEC works with more than 4,000 companies, and then we have partnership with some companies. We have partnership with companies in all sectors. And for example, last week we had a big event with L'Oréal here on campus. The team of L'Oréal came. We had a big event in the Grand Amphitheatre, and it was really nice to see. Students were there. They could also follow online. So yes, we have partnership, and we're working on those partnership, and we also work with companies outside France. It's important to go and get those jobs and those internships outside France, because in France we're very well known, but also we do that. And if we go back to the events, we organize 1 week of every 2 weeks. We have events for companies recruiting for France, and the second week we have events for companies recruiting for their own country. And we're working on different destinations, 11 destinations at the moment throughout the year.
And what are the different sectors, the different fields where the student of the Global BBA can do and can achieve their internships?
So they can basically go where they want to go. But then, obviously, we're in a business school, so the main sectors are finance, insurance,
marketing.
And then for the jobs, it's marketing.
Okay.
And then it's accounting as well, or finance audit. They can do audit as well. And then there are many other type of jobs they can learn and try out. But the main sectors, if we go back to the sectors, are basically finance, insurance, consulting, and then all the other sectors.
Okay. And do you already know, Ishita, where you want to work after you graduate? If you want, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes, to maybe pursue your study, do you already know what you want to do?
I'm not 100% sure, and I think actually yesterday I had a career workshop at ESSEC where we spoke about what we want to do after ESSEC. So I'm still in the middle of deciding whether I want to kind of have a full-time job, maybe either working in a bank or to maybe pursue a master somewhere else or at ESSEC. So I think all options are open for me, and I'm still deciding. But the career services really helps you kind of align what you want to do and kind of helps you prepare where you want to go as well. So they're really, like we're talking about it 2 years before you're graduating. They're already opening up a conversation to, kind of help you decide what you want to do. So I think the steps are there, and now it's just for me to decide and think what I want to do next.
Because one interesting thing is that you can either begin to work or you can decide to pursue with a master degree. How does it work exactly, Claire Tagon-Latta?
Well, it's up to the student. The student will decide. Basically, we have about 60% of the students following with the master. So they can do it here if they find the right master that corresponds to their needs and motivation. or they can do it in any other school in the world and with a partner around the world. We have a lot of partners around the world, and all of them can welcome our students. So it's really up to the student to decide whether he or she wants to continue to pursue the studies or to work. And sometimes they start working and then they can continue their study later on. It depends on the students, and really what's important when you have to take that decision is what exactly you want to do. What is it as a student or a young professional you want to achieve? And it's all the doors are open, like you've just said.
And if they decide to begin to work, what kind of jobs can they have, and which salary? What salary can they have?
The salary is it's always it's a bit tricky, but it's roughly. It really depends the sector you want to join
and the country too.
And the country, but basically it's roughly 38, 40 and more. But again, it depends on the sector and the type of job.
Regarding the sectors, where can they work?
Again, all the sectors are open. Mainly, as I said, finance and finance, insurance companies, accounting companies as well. And for the job, again, it's really sales, marketing, communication. We have people going into human resources, not a lot, but 2%. So there are many options available out there.
And I assume that the alumni network can really help to find opportunities, to get to know other ex-students, other graduated that can maybe help for our personal career.
Yes, that's a very good point that you've just mentioned. In fact, the people listening to us cannot see it, but right behind us in the corridor, there is the alumni. There's an alumni office. So ESSEC Alumni Association has an office here, and there is a campus manager here, and the students can go and talk with this campus manager, Marine, at the moment. And Marine, if the student has a question and would like some more information about a specific sector, Marine will find the right alumni to discuss this with the students. So that's a very good. Very good. And it's just behind us.
Did you have the opportunity to use or to the alumni network? Was it for you a facilitator for some of the opportunities you had?
Funnily enough, my CEO at the startup is an alumni, has been at ESSEC, is an alumni ESSEC, sorry. And actually, I've used the network a lot. I've had the chance to talk to a lot of people, especially working in the finance sector, and also not only mention not only alumni ESSEC, but even the students that are above me. So in like BBA 4 or BBA, who have already graduated. So they were a big help in kind of helping me navigate and how to find internships as well. Like how were their experiences? What maybe kind of aligning my interests into one sector, how they did it, their experiences. So I think all these conversations that you have really help you in your professional career as well and making decisions. So I think those conversations are also really important.
What is interesting is that even when you're students, you are beginning to create your own network that you can use during your entire life.
That's right, and that's very important. And that's where our colleagues from ESSEC Alumni help us. They really here to help the students to understand how to network. Being able to interact with people is a key element, a key success element in a work environment. So it's important for the students to learn how to interact and network with the alumni. And it's also important for them to understand that they need to keep contact with the people they were doing their internship, as you just mentioned before, because the network is so important so we help them with our network, and they also built their own network, and that's great.
And let's talk a little bit about entrepreneurship. Do some students of the BBA create their own company, and how do you help them with advice to do so? And do you have, for instance, incubators? How does it work, the entrepreneurship here?
So, if you want to create a new venture, ESSEC is certainly the right place to go. We have on campus an ESSEC incubator. At the moment, there are 80 projects incubated within the ESSEC incubator. And how does it work? A student have an idea, will knock at the door. Again, they are just there behind us in the corridor. They will talk with a person from the incubator, and that person will guide the student, telling the student how to prepare. The student is going to mature to think about that idea and come back. And there are a lot of, they're going back and forth. And then the student can join the incubator and work on his or her project. I was looking back at the figures. The students who graduated from BBA in 2019, we had 12 companies from those students. 12 students created a company.
That's a lot.
5 during their time here at ESSEC. So they can combine the studies, and of course they work on the project, and they can launch the company already here at school. And the other one launched it right after school. So so if you have this idea of creating something, creating a new venture, well, ESSEC is certainly there to at least provide the environment to do so.
Is it something that you imagine creating your own company, Ishita?
It's something that I haven't thought about yet, but it's extremely interesting, and knowing that ESSEC can really support you in all the different career choices that you make is really helpful, and to have that choice, and maybe, who knows, after ESSEC I think of an amazing idea, and I know that ESSEC will always help me in that journey as well.
No, but we hope the same for you. We are now going to take the question coming from the chat. Don't hesitate to ask them about the career you can have, about the opportunities you can also have as an intern or apprentice at ESSEC. First question is, can I work part-time in my first year in Cergy, and is it easy to find work?
Maybe I'm going to give an answer, and then maybe you want to add on, because working part-time mean having great abilities to combine work and studies. So this is something to take into account. I'm not quite sure that's compatible. However, a student can always have a few hours of work, and there are specific contracts in France to allow part-time jobs. And we also here at ESSEC hire students to do some jobs for us.
What kind of jobs, for instance?
So for the moment, at the Career Services, we have 2 students helping us, working for us actually, and helping, but they're working for us. And they're working on a product that we are launching at the moment. And we will talk about that product later on. But they are helping us to look at the database, to make analysis. So there are job opportunities here at ESSEC, and there are also job opportunities outside. But the students should evaluate the feasibility of those opportunities.
Because Ishita, maybe the first year is really the important year where you are going to learn new things, you are going to discover new stuff, and you are also beginning a new life in another country, and then beginning to have a new way to learn, new way to work. Exactly. So for you, is it compatible with a part-time job?
So like she just mentioned, it's, if you're able to manage your time well, of course, it is possible, and there are ways to do part-time jobs. But in my personal experience, I'd say ESSEC is really full-time. You know, you sometimes have 3 classes in a day. It is a lot, and you're learning something that at least I hadn't learned before. So it's everything is new. You're adjusting to a new life. You're adjusting to France. You're adjusting to, you know, staying alone for the first time. So there are these small factors that maybe you think, okay, maybe you do a part-time job maybe in your second year, and you know you have plenty of opportunities that ESSEC also puts into your curriculum to have these professional opportunities. But I do have some friends who did part-time jobs and
who are able to follow the studies perfectly fine.
Yeah, perfectly fine.
So it really depends on the kind of students you are. In the apprenticeship program, the apprenticeship program just in France? If yes, could I do it in English?
Well, basically, you can do it in English. I mean, if we go back to ESSEC, yes, it's possible. So the contract, to answer the question, are company-based and located in France. It doesn't mean that the company, the company can send you to another country because there is another, there are offices there. But basically, the way apprenticeship is organized and regulated by law, the company is French and has an office in France to be able to hire an apprentice.
Okay.
But some of the apprentices are sent abroad. It happens from time to time.
Then you have to have your structure in France, which means also that for the Singapore and Morocco campuses, there is no apprenticeship yet.
No. It's very specific to France. It's a very specific way of learning, and learning by doing in France, and that's linked to the country. But when the students from Singapore or Rabat come to France and they stay here at Cergy, of course, if they stay long enough, they can find an internship.
There is a question about Singapore and Rabat. Do you also help the student there thanks to all the career services?
Yes. So as I mentioned, we have people. Colleagues working in Singapore and Rabat. Rabat is a smaller campus, so we have one person. And as I said, in Singapore we have 5. And I work on a regular basis with my colleagues. I organize every year a seminar with all the consultant and people working for the career services from Rabat, from Singapore, and from here, Cergy, because we want to make sure that we're all aligned to help the students. And a student should live the very same experience with the career services, whether he or she is in Cergy, in Rabat, or in Singapore. So we work differently because of the size of the campus and number of students, but we're all aligned in providing the very same type of service.
Regarding the services that you offer, is it as precise as if in 1 week I have a job interview or an internship interview, I can go to the career center and ask for help in the way maybe I dress, in what I'm going to say, and maybe I will have fake interviews to get prepared. That can be the kind of help you give?
Yes. And we strongly encourage all the students to do so because it's so important. You don't have a second way. You don't have a second chance to make a good impression when you go and for an interview. So you really have to prepare. So we have specific. So the students, they can take appointments online. They go on the website and they take an appointment, and we always find a solution. To help the students, if it's in a week from now, we usually find a consultant to help. Anyway, we will find. So the student can come. We can discuss. We ask the student to pitch the project, to present him or herself. We go through questions, tricky questions. We reinforce the students. We help the student make sure that he or she is going to be confident. Yeah, that's maybe she can.
Yes.
Did you have this kind of experience, Ishita?
Yeah, so they really helped me kind of, you know, when you're in an interview, you know, how to introduce yourself, like, you know, how to kind of captivate the interviewer, to kind of bring them to certain points in your CV and highlight what you did, how to present that, how to, you know, give the best impression to your recruiter. I think ESSEC really helped me with that. In terms of appointments, yes, like Claire said, that it's all, you go online, you book an appointment as per your timetable, choose the slots that you want. So it's very organized in that sense. And it was really helpful. And even just to add on that, there's also a service called Job Teaser, where I extensively looked at. So it's basically job offers posted by different companies, partners of ESSEC, alumni, that have posted job offers, and I extensively used that in looking for my apprenticeship.
And do the different people following apprenticeship have a tutor at ESSEC, someone from the administration following them and following their career, kind of?
Yes. So we have a tutor. And that's mandatory by law, in fact, because it's very, the apprenticeship is really strongly regulated. So the student is also an employee, he or she signs a contract. And
have the same rights and the same rules as an employee?
Yes, only 5 weeks of vacation every year, instead of, more as a student. Having to follow the rules of the company, and so that those are the rules. So it's really a work contract that the student signs, and the tutor, to come back to the question, is there to make sure that during the entire journey of the apprenticeship, it goes smoothly. So if there is a problem, the student can always contact the tutor, making sure, explaining what's going on, and the tutor will also talk with the company or making sure that things are okay. So it could be somebody from the school. It can also be someone that the school pays to do that. So we really make sure that we are committed to the fact that it's important, that it's done. And the student, they also have a contact. You have a contact with Jocelyn, I think, yes. For the BBAs, and the student can always contact the person in charge of the apprenticeship for the BBAs, talking about the BBAs. Yeah.
And another way to get to know the professional world after the internship, after the apprenticeship, and before graduating and having a job is to have sometimes the companies, the people coming directly into the campus. Do you have, for instance, people here who are sharing their inspiring profile, what they did, like big conferences? Is it something that you organize at the career services?
Yes, and that I was mentioning earlier, more than 300 events last year. So among those events, we have the job fairs, where we have companies coming over here. We have in 2 weeks, 1 week and a half from now, we have a consulting fair and a finance fair. There will be a law fair in December. Then we have what we call the talent days, 2 days where we have 100 companies, 50 per day in January. Then we have startup job fair. We have different events, and we also have people coming and giving talks. We also organize, for those who want to work in consulting, crack the case events, so the student can sit and discuss cases, consulting cases. So many different type of events, making sure that the student get the entire information from the company, from the type of, from the sector, the kind of jobs, etc., etc.
That's really, really interesting. You can keep on asking the question on the chat section. Maybe we can talk about the way then the career is going to progress for the graduates. Do you still sometimes help the graduate or the soon graduate with their first job when they are looking for an opportunity? We know that maybe the period we had was complicated in some sectors. We can think about the hospitality management, the sectors of the transportation. Sometimes we're suffering from the crisis. Do you still have tools for the young graduates that are looking for jobs?
Yeah, so the way we organized with my colleague from ESSEC alumni, we are in charge of helping the students until they find their first job. And as soon as they have their first job, they will be taken care of by my colleagues from ESSEC alumni. So, and I talk to ESSEC alumni on a regular basis. Since the COVID-19 crisis, I'm talking to them every week, making sure that we are totally aligned. And if there is a problem with one graduate, this graduate is taking care, and we were really working together. And that's really very important to understand. ESSEC is a huge community, and we're all part of the same. We are all we are all aiming to help the students and the alumni after that.
Ishita, you just told us a few minutes ago that you're not sure what you want to do after you graduated, but if you could do whatever you want, you now have the experience of the workplace or in an apprenticeship. Ideally, and that's not maybe a job that you can have just after you graduate or just after a master, but how would you like to work? Where would you like to be? How do you idealize yourself in a professional workplace?
So ideally, I'd like to work in an international environment where I'm in more of a front office job. I'm more interested by finance, as you can tell of my past experiences. So more into either banking, investment banking, private equity. It's really hard to enter into these sectors, but I think my past experience and the help with ESSEC can really help me get there and prepare for these interviews. Like the consulting fair and finance fair, they really help you prepare for these interviews as well. So which are very specific, and so I think. Yeah, and I think in terms of environment-wise, I think international front office, having the ability to interact with people all over the world, and a very dynamic environment too, where I can keep learning, keep doing what I like, which is finance, and yeah.
Maybe the last question for you, Claire, a question coming from the chat. What are the working abroad weeks?
Okay, working abroad weeks are events to help the students to understand how it feels to work in a country. To do that, we have companies talking to the students, we have alumni sessions, and we have local consultant, telling the students what to do. Because as you mentioned earlier, in every country, each country has its own way of, going through the work and job search. So the international working abroad weeks are events to help the students to understand what it is to work and live in the UK, in Ireland, in Singapore, in India, anywhere. We have 19 destinations. 11 destinations, sorry.
So yeah, that's a lot. Thanks a lot, Claire Tagan-Battard and Ishita, for your time and for having answered all of the questions. We are going to come back in a few minutes to talk about the student life with people from the Student Union, so we will know more about the activities organized. But before that, we are going to watch a little video to know more about the graduation ceremony. You will possibly be in a graduation ceremony here at ESSEC in a few years. So how does it look like? The answer in this quick video.
qui ont été diplômés aujourd'hui ont vécu un moment très fort. Ils ont quitté l'école il y a quelques mois déjà et ils se retrouvent là à partager ce qu'ils ont commencé, un master, une insertion professionnelle pour certains. C'est aussi un moment où ils sont fiers et on le voit, on le sent dès leur arrivée dans la salle où ils marchent de façon très solennelle. Beaucoup de temps fort finalement depuis la première minute où Corinne Playfair, la maîtresse de cérémonie, est arrivée en chantant et a transporté et projeté beaucoup de solennité dans l'événement, jusqu'au moment où on leur remet leur diplôme et on les distingue sur scène, où on sent beaucoup d'émotion au moment où ils arrivent et sont annoncés et présentés devant leurs parents et leurs camarades.
Cette journée est la vôtre. Nous sommes là pour vous célébrer. C'est pour se dire au revoir, mais surtout pour vous souhaiter bon vent.
Donc les étudiants du BBA qui ont été diplômés aujourd'hui vont maintenant partir vers de nouvelles aventures véritablement. Il y en a qui vont poursuivre leur carrière académique, il y en a qui vont aller travailler, il y en a qui créent leur entreprise tout de suite à la sortie. C'est donc un nouveau départ pour eux et un départ pour lequel on les sait bien préparés puisqu'on a passé 4 ans avec eux à les ouvrir sur le monde, à leur donner les outils, les lentilles, les moyens de pouvoir poursuivre et construire leur vie personnelle et professionnelle.
Welcome back for the last part of this open virtual day of the Global BBA. We're going to talk about the student life here at ESSEC, and I'm very pleased to welcome Jessica Kochanowski. Hi.
Hello.
You are the vice president of the Student Union, the BDE in French. And just next to you, we have Monica. Hi.
Hi.
You're also taking part in the Student Union.
Yes.
And you are going to talk about the life here at ESSEC. First of all, can you introduce yourself and tell us a few words about the different your time here at ESSEC, what you do, what you study, and why you are engaged in the Student Union. We can begin with you, Jessica.
Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Jessica Kochanowski, and as Guillaume said, I'm the vice president of the ESSEC Global BBA Student Council Supersonic. So our life campus here at ESSEC is very rich. I think that's the word that best describes this entire life. So as the Student Council first is concerned, we are in charge of all the parties, trips, and events within the campus. But there are also many different associations divided in different fields and interests. So as far as the Student Council is concerned, we are in charge of organizing and animating the student life and extracurricular life here at ESSEC Sergi, because there is another student council in Singapore for Singapore students. We are organizing parties on Wednesdays about 2 times a month, not including special parties such as the end-of-year gala. We are also doing many different events, which I will not talk much about because I don't want to spoil you the surprise. But they are, such as the Godfathership, Open Food Day, and many more, as well as trips, for example, the Integration Week, or skiing, and many others. But they are also association in this ESSEC campus life, and we have more than 100 associations here on campus, divided in different interests. We have humanitarian associations such as Rotaract, doing missions in Sergi and the cities in the suburbs. We have also engaged associations such as He for She, fighting for the respect of others and especially women's rights. We have also arts associations such as the BDA, the Arts Council. We have cooking also association, cultural associations such as ESSEC España, India, and many more. And of course, sports activities and sports clubs. We have almost every existing sports here on campus: tennis, basketball, football, volleyball, horse riding, swimming, tennis, and many more. All organized by the sports association called also BDS. So once again, it is only to say that you will obviously find something that interests you. And just to sum up quickly what I just said, so the life here is really rich and diverse and really eclectic and open, of course, for everyone. No matter if you're French, no matter if you're coming from another country, we are taking everyone. Each and every student from the ESSEC Global BBA is included in those associations, in those events. So, of course, you will be part of it. And now I'm going to leave the floor to Monica. Oh, yes, only one thing more. You can, of course, handle your work life at ESSEC and your leisure time, because all the events are scheduled with the course planning. So don't be afraid for that. The rest is just a question of organization.
Yes,
Monica, the floor is yours.
I just wanted to add, other than, the cultural associations, or there's like a wine tasting association as well. But there's also business associations. So personally, I was involved in ESSEC Japan, and also Enactus ESSEC, which is a social entrepreneurship association. There's Exchange ESSEC. There's a lot of different finance and business ones as well. So if you're interested in that area, there's a community to go to. Should I introduce myself a bit?
Yeah, of course. You can tell us 2 words about who you are.
Again, my name is Monica. I'm from the United States, but I come from a Japanese origin. Coming to ESSEC, I was really excited because, to be honest, I was going to France. I had studied France in high school, but I didn't actually speak it very much. But as I spoke about the residences earlier, I joined a residence at the park, and I was roommates with French people, and they really helped me to speak French. We spoke English and French with each other. And over time, it's a very international community. So even the associations usually speak French and English. and you get to try everything in terms of social life and school. So it was very, very exciting for me. Freshman year was a blast. I mean, everything happened, and it's a great time to enjoy. Yeah.
Definitely. What's really cool about this entire ESSEC student life is that you get to know many people from different origins, different parts of the world, and it's just an absolute pleasure to do so and to have the ability to meet all these people. And you're lucky ones, because in 2 years we are going to have a new sports court, an entire new sports court. So
yes,
be ready for that. Be ready for that.
What is for you the most, you just told us that there is plenty of association in the different campuses, both in Cergy, Singapore and Morocco. What is for you the most original association on the different campuses?
Wow.
That's a good question.
I would say the student council, just because not because I'm part of it, but just because it's a complete adventure. You get to do a little bit of a professional work with this association. You have to get sponsors, you have to manage an entire team, so it's very complete, very rich. You also get to meet people. So I would say that this one is the most special, at least for me.
I mean, I agree. It takes up a good amount of your time, and you really get to meet people and become a team with 35 members. So it's a big team. But I would also say, for another one that I find cool, I'm not part of this association, but I always found it cool, is the DJ Association, RMX, and they DJ for all the parties that we have here. And it's just very cool to see that students, get involved like that and have music and vibe and ambience. And I find that association pretty cool. Like the fact that we have that at the school is.
And you don't want to try to mix?
I would love to, but I don't think they'd accept my skill.
We're not skilled for
Beginner.
that.
Beginner.
Definitely not.
Maybe in the future.
You have been studying here at ESSEC for some years. What is the best memory that you have regarding the student life at ESSEC?
Okay, well, once again talked about the student council. I would say our victory.
Our victory? I just said the campaign when I first arrived.
Yeah.
I was first coming to ESSEC.
First year leading a campaign.
Yes,
I agree.
didn't know that the student council campaign was such a big thing here. I mean, in the United States, it's not that big of a thing. But here, it's you really get to see a big event where you get a lot of goodies. And that's where you there's a lot of challenges and things that you can do that integrate even outside of your section or class people. You get to meet people in the French track or English track, and it's a very big integration in the first few months of ESSEC. So that was just the biggest thing for me. I met people my friends are from Morocco, India, other parts of Europe, Russia, and obviously China and everywhere. So just being able to meet people from all these different backgrounds, it's like a long period of time, but that was my favorite moment at ESSEC. I got to experience that, which I wouldn't have experienced back home.
I agree with you 100%, and that was really something that marked me as well. But another thing that really marked me and that I enjoyed a lot was an event that we did for the international student with MELT, which is the association in charge of international students. And we did a boat trip in Paris. It was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it was absolutely incredible because we had the chance to meet all the exchange students coming on campus. And it was absolutely fantastic. It was incredible. And we just sat in Paris as well, talking to each other. So that was great. That was great.
What is really interesting for you, Monica, is that, and you too, but you're an international student, and you joined an association, which means that an international student can join associations?
Yes. So when we have this thing called the Night of Associations, La Nuit d'Asso. And in this association night, you go to the campus, and everywhere are these stands of all the associations we have. So they obviously have French speakers and English speakers. So you just go up to the stand and you just ask them questions about the association. Obviously, you can find information online as well in ESSEC, my ESSEC, but here you get to meet the people behind it, and that's where I found myself going ESSEC Japan, we do cooking things, or we do movie nights, and that was really something I wanted to do I wanted to do as a Japanese person. So I was just okay, I wanted to go there. There was the entrepreneurship one I spoke about, and I joined that, and I was the only BBA student to join it. But it was a very incredible experience in itself because I was meeting master's students actually. So it's even a mix between different schools because I'm BBA, but they were masters, and you know, they still accepted me in their association to work with them, and that was a very professional experience I was able to have.
So it would be an advice that you would give to the people watching us today, that it's important to get involved in this student's life, even if you're an international student.
Of course. I think it's even better because that's the way I found other communities other than my classmates. And as an international student, being able to find that community or ground was very, very important to me. It helped me feel stable and at home. And, you know, I think the whole point of being an international at ESSEC would be to be able to explore these activities and events. Like, if you're here, why not try everything? So that's especially your freshman year, you should try everything. And, you know, there's no harm in that.
Yeah, just don't worry, step out of your comfort zone, sorry. Talk to people, and of course everyone will be here to respond to your interrogation, so don't hesitate.
If I can add, like a lot of the information these associations post on Facebook and things, they post in French and English because they know there's a huge international community. So they really do try to communicate with us, and that's what helped me to be like, oh, that's very interesting, and you know, allowed me to join even the student council. Everything we do is in French and English, and as an international student, it might be, you know, people find it maybe like, oh, it's hard to be with a bunch of French people, but even now it's increasing as well. There's a lot more international students there. I'm not even an international student head in the community, in the student council. I'm a secretary. Like, that's different as well.
Everyone can do it.
Everyone can do it. Everyone can do it, yes. So it's very...
We are trying to include everyone.
Yes. It's very accessible. Sorry, yes.
And if you want to know more about the different associations that there is on campus, on the different campuses, you can download this little book with all the descriptions, such as Rêve FM. Rêve FM.
It's the radio,
It's the radio one, yes.
It's a little quiz that we can do. Strat and Go.
Okay,
it's probably a strategy association.
Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, it was a strategy.
Consulting.
Consulting. Okay. We have a lot of consulting. If you're interested in consulting, we have a lot of good ones.
Finance as well.
ESSEC associations are known for that. Yeah. They even do real consulting missions, which you can do to earn some money. And even as an international student, they actually ask for people from specific countries
to
be able to do surveys and translations. So you can get some money from that.
So that's cool.
Which I've done.
You can have fun, you can do parties,
can have fun and work.
You can do sports, and you can also
earn
money
thanks
to that.
You're at a business school. There are going to obviously great opportunities and associations for that. So yeah.
Jessica, can you tell us a few words about what you think the fact of being really implicated in all this student life, what it can give you in terms maybe of soft skills?
Basically, more than just being part of the student council, I was part of 3 associations before that, 2 humanitarian associations and 1 sports club, the dance association. And first of all, the soft skill will be managing teams. As regarding the student council, that's for sure, because it's not something that we necessarily do besides this association. So it really helped me in this field. Also, just communication. I think that communication is the soft skill that is mostly used in all the association, because everyone has its own opinion, everyone has its own interest in a topic, and just getting to talk with them and exchange about it, it's absolutely incredible. So I guess the 2 are the most
and public speaking.
And of course public speaking, as you see today.
She does a lot of
helps. It helps just speaking to people, open up and be open-minded in general, I guess.
I agree.
And when you're doing interviews for maybe internships, you can say, you show all the activities that you have in the student life at ESSEC.
Actually, it's even appreciated by companies if you say that you were part of a certain association. For example, if you're interested in finance and you tell that you were part of the association called ESSEC Transaction, that is really focused on finance, companies know that you are absolutely interested in the subject and they will absolutely value that. So it's even better to say it.
And ESSEC Transaction is even known by some companies, like it's very, very good. They do real missions. So that means, you know, that's real experience that you get from that association. So it's invaluable for your CV, resume.
It's a recognition.
Yeah. And I agree. That's exactly what it is.
What are the different sports that you can do on campus?
Oh my God, I think that we cannot just list
many,
everything. You can do every sports with a ball.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Basketball, football.
Everything, sorry. Basketball, football,
tennis.
Rugby, tennis. We have volleyball team. We have handball.
Yes, I think
handball
so.
team. We even have horse riding, we have swimming, we have dancing.
The boat, the crew.
We have I have no idea how to translate it in English.
There were avion in French.
Aviron, but I have no idea how to say it in English.
Rowing.
Many more. Rowing, I think that's it. What else can I cite? Many.
We even have dance classes.
Dance classes. If you're interested in Latino dancing, for example, we have open classes and many more. So if you're interested in sport, just know that we obviously have it here.
What would be your advice for the people watching us today? They may be hesitating to the school they're going to choose. They may be stressed by their scholar results, by all the different steps to apply. What would you say to them today, to make them feel better with all of the stress coming with the idea of choosing a school?
I guess that if we decided to enter ESSEC, I don't know if I'm talking on your name, Monica, as well, but we really wanted to mix work, because obviously if we are in this school, it's because this field interests us, and the leisure time. And what really helped me choose my school is the fact that ESSEC has such a rich campus life, but that you can mix the workload given to you and the leisure time, because everything is scheduled regarding your courses. So really that's a bonus point plus for ESSEC Business School.
I would agree with that. I would even add, if you're choosing between French schools or French business schools, I would definitely say the reason why I chose ESSEC was, number one, the amazing exchange opportunities.
Definitely.
So
many
huge
partners.
Student body, and I will be very honest about this. The international student community is very strong here. The integration of international students is very essential, and I felt that when I came here. And something that I've spoken to with my other friends that chose to go to other French business schools as an international student, they're like, yeah, we don't have the same association life. Like, you know, everyone's actually involved and interested, and you get to meet so many different people. And that's the reason why I chose ESSEC in the end was, you know, I could see that there were so many different associations and interests, and they welcomed that, and there's a place for everything here.
I guess that just if you want to join a school, but that's not only a school, we are a family at ESSEC, that you want to mix workload, integration, because obviously everyone is integrated here, and leisure time, like join us. We have everything here.
And learn a new language or two.
Yeah, and travel as well, because the list of partners is absolutely huge.
And maybe another question, more philosophical. What would you have done differently now that you have your background, your experience with ESSEC? When you arrived, maybe you did something and it would have been better not to do that, or maybe to do directly something. What would you have done differently now that you know how ESSEC works and how the student life works?
Gotta think a bit.
I have a blank now.
What would I have done differently?
Maybe getting more involved quicker in the student life, or maybe something like that.
I have friends of mine who told me, because I was one of the international students, I guess, that joined many associations starting from the beginning. Like, I just tried, but I had some friends saying, yeah, I was afraid to be in association with other people that were not really English speaking only, or things like that, so they avoided applying. When, if they applied, they would have had the chance to maybe, you know, be part of it. So they were like, yeah, I didn't join that many associations, so that's some way they were like, I wish I had done that. Personally, honestly, I'm happy with my choices. I wouldn't really change much. You know, I chose Residence du Parc. That's a huge community. The residences itself are a community, actually. So when you choose where to live, you get a community in itself. You get to know everyone there. Because it's first years, everyone wants to meet each other. And you live close to campus, which means you could get to participate in all the association activities. I don't think I would change anything. Would you?
Actually, the only maybe regret I have is not knowing a little bit much certain association that I discovered only after.
Yeah, that's true.
For example, I only discovered a little bit after, so I did not have the chance to get involved.
Okay, yeah.
But other than that, I'm really happy about what I did.
Yeah. That's cool. That's a cool answer.
Sorry,
that's better.
I wish I had something to add.
Maybe I would have worked more. And no, that's
okay.
That's really
cool. I worked very hard. Oh, yeah, you have to work very hard. Okay, first year.
Leisure time in school. Working is really important too.
your exchange opportunities are based off of that. So it's important to work hard as well.
And what do you want to do after you graduated? Do you already know? That's a question you
That's
might
hard
have
question.
in the family time, but you have it now here for the people watching us.
I personally would like to pursue my studies and do a master. Where I still don't know. I have a little bit of reflection here and there, but pursue a master in marketing, that's for sure.
Okay. I do want to kind of work for a year or two to see if the field that I wanted, I chose to go into, it actually interests me. I mean, I was thinking consulting or going to the sports industry. So one of those, it really changed when I first came to ESSEC. Okay, maybe that's one thing. When I first came to ESSEC, I wanted to go into luxury brand management. And after a year, I realized, wait, that's not what I wanted to do. So the activities and career events I was going to were all the information for sessions for those. But in the end, I changed my mind. I mean, that's normal to change your mind.
Yeah, of course.
So now it's completely different. It's very different now. It's not marketing in the luxury brand, but it's consulting and maybe sports, So
you will probably change your mind as well.
Exactly. So. But so future-wise, I do want to live in a different country. Like I've been in France for 4 years, not 4 years, 2 years and a half.
Don't cheat.
I've picked up French. I mean, I speak a lot more French now. I have normal conversations with Jessica in French now, and. That's a huge asset. So although I can bring it to maybe Japan or the London or wherever I choose to go to work for a bit and then do graduate school. Yeah.
And we wish to two of you the best for the future. Thanks a lot for having been with us, Jessica and Monica, and to have shared your experience as a student organization.
Thank you for listening.
And thanks to you for having watched us. That's the end of this virtual open day. The replay will be available if you register to the session or on the ESSEC Business School official YouTube channel. If you still have questions, you can, and you want personalized answer, you can go and keep in touch with the different student ambassador or the advisor, thanks to the website essec.edu. I wish you the best for the rest of your application process and see you soon on the social network. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.